Chapter 802. No one would have thought that Octagon Aniseed would suddenly get angry. Previously, this guy had a smile on his face and was amiable. He really did not want to fall out with him. Was the True Devil Sect really willing to fight against the Supreme Sect alone? This was not good for them, was it? Furthermore, the True Devil Sect had always kept a low profile all these years. Why would they be so arrogant at this critical juncture? Was he planning to face the Supreme Sect alone? Although Octagon Aniseed was angry, his words were not very convincing. None of the people present were fools, and they could tell that something was amiss. Don't be angry. Eight-toothed Sovereign, we do not have any intention of snatching the credit from your esteemed sect. The reason why we said that is because we hope to help the True Devil Sect and completely kill the Supreme Sect in its cradle, removing this tumor for the countless people who have been poisoned by the Supreme Sect. The River Region Lord spoke. His voice was neither cold nor hot. If that's the case, then Octagon Aniseed will have to thank everyone here. However, I also have to add that there's no need because the Supreme Sect suffered a crushing defeat last time and does not have much strength left. My True Devil Sect can contend against it. As soon as he said that, a man sitting in the second row on the right suddenly stood up, cupped his fist towards Octagon Aniseed, and laughed. Eight-toothed Sovereign, as long as the thief does not die, we cannot be careless. The strength of the True Devil Sect has indeed exceeded our imagination, and we also sincerely admire you. Back then, when the Supreme Sect invaded, we received the news too late, and thus missed the opportunity to support them. Fortunately, under the leadership of the Eight-Toothed Sovereign, the Devil Sect was still able to repel the Supreme Sect, but this time, the Supreme Sect has suffered a crushing defeat, and must have thought about it bitterly. If they do not leave the Supreme Realm, I am afraid that they are plotting something. If the Eight-Toothed Sovereign still plans to fight alone at this time, I am worried. This person had a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks, and when he spoke, his voice was also sharp and shrill, causing those who heard it to feel extremely uncomfortable. Of course, Octagon Aniseed was also uncomfortable. He turned his head and stared at the man. With a deep voice, he asked, "Who are you?" "I am Chi Huan, the Valley Master of the Forging God Valley." The man cupped his fists and revealed a smile. Forging God Valley? This name is so grand, but you, the Valley Master, don't seem to be such a grand person. He no longer had the courtesy he had before. The origin of the name was decided by the ancestors who founded the sect. We descendants have no right to change it, so we can only stand up and bear it, Chi Huan said without the slightest hint of fear. From this kind of behavior, it could be seen that he was a character. However, Octagon Aniseed was still extremely stubborn. Well said, but even Valley Master Chi Huan has such ambition. Why can't my True Devil Sect fight against the Supreme Sect alone? Everyone frowned when they heard that. Octagon Aniseed was completely unreasonable. Chi Huan stopped talking. He had said all he wanted to say. Everyone knew that no matter what they said, it would be useless because at this time, Octagon Aniseed had already made his decision. It was impossible for these people to change his mind with just a few words. Octagon Aniseed was not afraid of these people. With the power in their hands, it was impossible for them to contend against Octagon Aniseed. However, the reason why Octagon Aniseed was polite to them was because the matter they were asking about was something that countless powers in the myriad heavens realms were concerned about. Since the Eight-Toothed Sect Master has already said so, it is not convenient for us to say anything more. But no matter what, this is not a matter of one person. The Supreme Sect is not the enemy of a single force. We will be prepared to support the True Devil Sect at any time, if the True Devil Sect is not a match. Sect Master Bai's voice was deep as he said, with a serious expression, "I'm afraid that won't happen." Octagon Aniseed also said with an abnormally solemn expression, "Good. If that was the case, then that would be for the best. I have said all I have to say, so I won't stay any longer. Farewell." Sect Master Bai stood up and cupped his fists as he spoke. As his voice faded, he turned around and left. Seeing this, the others didn't seem to want to say anything else. They all stood up and bid farewell to Octagon Aniseed. He didn't say a word as he quietly watched these people leave. The round demon stood up. He wanted to say something, but after thinking for a while, He didn't say anything. Not long after, only Octagon Aniseed and the Round Demon were left in the Hall of Bones. It was cold once again, and only the cold wind remained. Vice Sect Leader, why did you reject their help? If you are worried that they will use the excuse of sending reinforcements to investigate the internal situation of the Supreme Sect, you don't have to worry. We can find an excuse to send them away or delay their reinforcements to buy more time. The Round Demon spoke. It's useless. Octagon Aniseed shook his head. Since they have decided to do this, then it means that they are already suspicious of the Supreme Sect. They will send reinforcements, but not many. If I agree to let them send reinforcements, then they will have an excuse and a cover to swagger into the Supreme Realm. At that time, there will be even more spies, and the matter of the Supreme Sect will also be exposed. But this way, wouldn't they be more suspicious? Between doubt and reality, which one would you choose? Right now, not only are they suspicious, I'm afraid that countless people in the myriad heavens realm are suspicious, and can buy us some time. If it's true, then it would be terrible, but we don't have much time. We need to quickly prepare. Octagon Aniseed stood up from his chair and looked at the Round Demon. Is there any movement inside the Supreme Realm? There's no movement at all. The Round Demon said, but he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, but there is one thing that is very strange. For some reason, a wind suddenly blew inside the Supreme Sect, although it is not big, but is very hot. Even the Devil Cultivator-S of the Sky Spirit Master cannot take it. They have to work in 2 shifts. If not, they will be blown to death by the hot wind. Hot wind? Octagon Aniseed frowned. Could be this hot wind? The Round Demon said solemnly. How far has the project gone? It will be completed this afternoon. After it's done, quickly bring your people and evacuate from the gate of the Supreme Realm. After that, set up the Demon Transformation Formation and seal the gate. Then, evacuate all the Devil Cultivator-S from the gate and return to the true Devil Realm to set up their defenses. Octagon Aniseed said in a deep voice. Hearing that, the Round Demon's eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. Could it be that the other side has already begun to move? That's about right. The speed is faster than I imagined. I didn't expect that the calamity of the 10,000 worlds would come so quickly. Inside the ice prison, Su Yun sat cross-legged on a chair, chanting the Tranquil Heart incantation in a low voice. At the same time, he activated the power of the Wutong tree and circulated it around his body. The temperature of the Jianghan realm was extremely high, which was good for suppressing the evil qi. Adding the power of the Saint Feng qi, even if Su Yun activated the profound qi, he would not be able to incite the evil qi. At this moment, Princess Bing and Prince Consort Li were locked up in their cells, and their order badges were taken away by Su Yun. Hey, you stinking bastard, hurry up and let us out. You'll die a horrible death, you beast, you bastard. When I get out, I'll pull out your tendons, skin you alive, refine your soul, and then throw your body into a pot of oil. I'll seal your soul into a stinking bug's body and make you a stinking bug for all eternity. Bastard, let me out. Princess Bing grabbed onto the bars of the ice prison and shouted at Su Yun, who was outside, with all her might. Su Yun opened his eyes slightly, looked at Princess Bing, then closed his eyes and continued to meditate, ignoring her. Unexpectedly, Princess Bing became even more aggressive, cursing even more fiercely and shouting even more fiercely. How could he endure such a ruckus while sitting quietly? Su Yun immediately stood up and walked towards the ice prison. Seeing Su Yun coming over, Princess Bing immediately stopped talking and stared at him. Su Yun glanced at Princess Bing, then looked at Prince Consort Li, who was sitting on the ground recuperating, and said, "Is this your brother-in-law? So what if I am?" Princess Bing said coldly, "This is the Han state. If you do such a thing, you won't be able to leave the Han state alive. Just wait for your death." Waiting for death? Su Yun sneered and said, "I advise you to obediently shut up and be quiet. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. You? What are you going to do? What is it? The dignified princess of the Han state, right? This is your territory, right?" Su Yun revealed a fierce look and sneered, I see that you still have some looks. If you continue to be noisy, I will strip you naked and rape you in front of your brother-in-law. Do you believe me? Ah. Princess Bing was so scared that her beautiful face turned pale and she hurriedly covered her mouth. This move was truly effective, directly hitting Princess Bing's weak spot. Although Su Yun was not ugly, to be defiled by such a thief in front of her brother-in-law. Princess Bing would rather die immediately. Stay here obediently. Don't force me anymore. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless and destroying flowers. After Su Yun finished speaking, he returned to his chair and sat down. This move was indeed extraordinary. Princess Bing was so scared that even the sound of her breathing became smaller. Seeing her restless appearance, Su Yun found it funny, but he did not pay too much attention to it and continued to focus on calming his mind. However, not long after, the chi meridian in his body suddenly became hot for no reason. Spirit core, origin, 5 viscera and 6 bowels, etc. All of a sudden, a high temperature appeared. The sudden heat almost caused his entire body to explode. His skin also turned scarlet red with a whoosh. Not good. This feeling was exactly the same as the last time at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. Could it be another breakthrough? Su Yin was shocked. Didn't the power of the Phoenix Pond Saint and the Wutong tree suppress this power? Why did it come again now? At this critical juncture, he could not afford to make any mistakes. Otherwise, he would really die a horrible death, just as Princess Bing had said. After kidnapping a princess and a prince consort, Su Yun was now the mortal enemy of the entire Han Empire. He gritted his teeth and fell down from his chair. When Princess Bing and Prince Consort saw this, their eyes were filled with doubt. Brother-in-law, what happened to him? I'm not sure. However, it seems like cheap deviation, Prince Consort muttered, then revealed a happy expression. I'm afraid that something went wrong with his cultivation. The profound chi went astray, and the chi meridian was broken. Bing Bing, we're saved. Really? Princess Bing was so happy that she almost jumped up. That's great. We've saved him again. She looked at Su Yun hatefully, a sinister look flashing past her eyes. I hope he doesn't die so easily. It's best if he's seriously injured or something. Wait until I get out. See how I torture him. Chapter 803. The more Su Yun was in pain, the more happy the two of them were. As long as Su Yun died, they would be saved. Seeing Su Yun rolling on the ground, hugging his body and trembling, Princess Bing's small face smiled even more happily, and the viciousness in her eyes leaked out without reservation. Go to hell. Go to hell. It was best if you died quickly. You bastard, do you know the pain? This is what they call evil retribution. She muttered in a low voice, her small fists hitting the cage from time to time, as if she wished she could rush out of the cage and drag Su Yun up and hack him into pieces. On the other hand, Prince Consort Li, who was beside him, slowly revealed a serious expression. He felt that his guest was wrong. A person who had gone berserk shouldn't behave like this. At this time, Su Yin used all his strength to crawl up from the ground and walk forward step by step. He staggered to the front of an empty cage, opened the door, and rushed in. Then he stretched out his trembling hand and activated the array formation inside the cage. In an instant, incomparably cold snowflakes drifted in the cage, and waves of cold air were even more terrifying than the sharpest steel needles, directly instilling into his body. This was a special ice magic formation used to torture the prisoners. Every cell had it. In the cells with people inside, the prisoners were being corroded by this knife-like cold. This kind of cold would not numb them, nor would it freeze them. It would only freeze all of their power, making them unable to resist and silently suffer the pain of the cold. Many of the prisoners in the cells were curled up on the ground, trembling, but not many of them cried out. Their expressions were distorted, and they wanted to die immediately, but they didn't have the strength to do so. It could be said that they were truly living a life worse than death. However, at this time, Su Yin was going to endure the pain himself. What was he going to do? Princess Bing was stunned. She did not understand what Su Yin was trying to do. On the other hand, Prince Consort Li noticed something was amiss. Looking at Su Yun, The surprise in his eyes became stronger and stronger. This is... When the array was activated, the frost had to be on his body. However, Su-Yun did not feel any pain. Instead, he felt extremely comfortable. The intoxicating feeling almost made him forget who he was. He tried his best to breathe. He sat cross-legged and focused on recuperating. As the cold chi continued to surge towards his body, his scarlet skin gradually returned to its original color. A large amount of white smoke seeped out from his skin, and an even more mysterious body also happened. With a pu sound, 4 rays of light appeared in Su-Yun's front, back, left, and right. The light flickered, sometimes golden, sometimes white, sometimes cold, sometimes blazing hot. After flickering for a while, they started to revolve around Su-Yun, and the more they revolved, the closer they got to his body. After an unknown period of time, the 4 rays of light directly entered Su-Yun's body with a tong sound. Su-Yun suddenly opened his eyes. His left eye shot out a golden light. His right eye shot out a white light. His body trembled, and then he suddenly straightened his body. His body slowly floated up. His skin was filled with gold and white lines like blood vessels. They covered his entire body and finally gathered at the top of his head, directly shooting out of his body through the ice wall and into the sky. In an instant, all the cold chi in the entire ice prison was absorbed by this light. The ice tables and chairs melted, and the cold chi array in the cell also lost its effect. It stopped spinning, and the prisoners were freed from the pain of the ice. The scene around them was mysterious, and Su-Yun's current change caused Princess Bing and Prince Consort Li to be even more shocked. The two of them stared blankly at Su-Yun, watching his change, unable to say a word for a long time. Slowly, the ice in the entire ice prison evaporated, revealing the pitch-black stones. The light that leaked out from Su-Yun's body also gradually dimmed. A voice that sounded like an immortal singing in a low voice reverberated throughout the entire ice city, and then quickly spread out. The mental state of the entire city rose by a level for no reason, becoming more mature and stable. After the phenomenon ended, Su-Yun's body gently landed on the ground, and he opened his eyes. However, when he opened his eyes, it gave off the feeling that the sun and moon had rotated 10,000 times, and that spring and summer had alternated countless times. This was a contradictory feeling of vicissitudes and immaturity. It was hard to say what kind of feeling it was, but it caused people to be in a trance. Princess Bing's head was filled with fog. She had no idea what was happening until Prince Consort Li, who was beside her, whispered something. Spirit Emperor Cultivation Base. Spirit Emperor? Princess Bing suddenly turned her head, her eyes wide open like never before as she looked at her brother-in-law in astonishment. Brother-in-law, you said this kid broke through? Currently. Already. Has the cultivation of the Spirit Emperor? Prince Consort Li's expression changed drastically. After a long while, he finally nodded his head with difficulty and said with a hoarse voice, I'm afraid so. This guy broke through right in front of our eyes. He was only at the 10th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, and Princess Bing was only at the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Even if the two of them worked together, they would not be able to injure Su-Yun in the slightest, and escaping from his hands would be even more difficult. When Princess Bing heard this, her heart immediately died. She sat on the ground powerlessly, and when she looked at Su-Yun again, her eyes were filled with fear. Not only the two of them, but the other prisoners who had been freed from the pain of the ice were also trembling as they looked at Su-Yun in fear. They would not be grateful to Su-Yun just because he had stopped the ice array from operating, because the strong were all temperamental. If Su-Yun wanted to kill them, they would not be able to retaliate at all. However, these prisoners were thinking too much. Even Princess Bing and Prince Consort Li were thinking too much. At this moment, Su-Yun was focusing all of his mental energy on his own cultivation. Without a doubt, his cultivation had broken through again. How long had it been since then? And this time, his breakthrough was a breakthrough that crossed levels. It was simply incomprehensible. He took off the plate on his waist and looked at it. His fighting strength had already reached the edge of 1,000,000 and was currently at the 1st stage of the Spirit Emperor. If he advanced another stage, he would be able to squeeze into the ranks of 1,000,000, but for his cultivation to rise so quickly, it was definitely not a good thing. Everything was done in haste, and one had to be steady in cultivation, but right now, it was as if he was sitting on a rocket. If this continued, the evil aura in his body would probably erupt ahead of time, and the power of St. Feng Qi might not be able to suppress it. This was a miracle bestowed by the imperial battle robe, and for him to advance so quickly, it must be caused by the power of the supreme sect lord. So he had to think of a way to quickly find the dragon abyssal pearl. Su Yun exhaled, stood up, looked at Prince Consort Li and Princess Bing in the cage, and immediately took out the Lotus Star sword from the sword sheath beside him. Muttering change, in an instant, the Lotus Star sword reacted, a halo of light enveloped his body, and a moment later, he turned into Prince Consort Li's appearance. What a brilliant illusion technique. There was no chi or intent, and there were almost no flaws. Prince Consort Li's face turned ugly. He did not know what Su Yun was going to do after changing into his own appearance, but he knew that it would definitely not be a good thing. Su Yun, who had transformed into Prince Consort Li, immediately pushed open the prison door and walked out. The soldiers near the ice prison were all sent away by Su Yun in order to prevent the matters inside from being leaked out. "Greetings, Prince Consort Ma." Su Yun swaggered through the long corridor, arrived at the main hall of the mansion, and sat down. "Someone come." He picked up a cup of tea, took a sip, and shouted loudly. Immediately, an old man with a goatee rushed in. He was the steward of the mansion. "Greetings, Prince Consort Ma." The man ran into the hall and immediately knelt down to kowtow. "Where's the first princess now? We've already passed the ice-carving town. We should be able to reach Bingsheng in a day." The old man nodded and bowed. "One day. Then we need to quickly arrange for the honor guard to welcome us." Su Yin said, "Prince Consort Ma is right. This lowly one will immediately arrange it. And go. When the princess is about to enter the city, you must inform me immediately. Do you understand?" "Yes, Prince Consort Ma." "All right, you can do this later. Take me to see the enchantment and defense system of this mansion." Su Yin stood up and said indifferently, Check the barrier." The old man raised his head and looked at the Prince Consort Ma in front of him in confusion. However, the Prince Consort Ma suddenly straightened his face and snorted. "The princess is about to arrive at Bingsheng. Although this is the princess mansion, it is not the imperial city after all. If I don't check, if something goes wrong, will you be able to bear the responsibility?" When the old man heard this, he didn't dare to say anything else. He quickly nodded and said, "Prince Consort Ma is right. Prince Consort Ma is right. Prince Consort Ma, follow this lowly one. This lowly one will bring you there immediately. And let's go," Su Yun said indifferently. After that, the old man led Su Yun around the princess mansion. Every time he went to a place, Su Yun would open the array formation there and carefully look at it. His expression was extremely serious and meticulous, as if he was a diligent scholar. The old man looked at him strangely, but didn't say anything. If something really happened, Prince Consort Ma would be the one to take responsibility. He was only following orders. What is this? Halfway there, the strange array formation that the old man gave Su Yun to inspect attracted Su Yun's attention. It was a bright and resplendent five-pointed star ice sculpture. The ice sculpture landed on the treetop of an ice tree at the back of the mansion. In the princess mansion, it did not attract too much attention, but the ice star gave Su Yun a very strange feeling, as though it contained an endless amount of energy. The quiet ice divine star is a protective magic treasure bestowed to our Princess Bing by the current king. The old man said with a smile, "Quiet ice divine star?" Su Yin reached out to touch the ice star and asked, "What's the use of this?" "Of course it's to save my life." The old man said, "The quiet ice divine star is a large array that has already covered the entire princess mansion. Prince Consort Ma, what you see now is its activation array core. Once activated, it will instantly seal the entire mansion in ice. No matter who it is, they will be frozen, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to activate the profound strength and even more so, will not die. And the ice that has sealed the person is not ordinary ice, but divine ice. It is extremely heavy and sturdy, and it is difficult to break it easily. If the princess mansion is attacked by others, the princess only needs to activate this divine ice and freeze herself and the thief together. Prince Consort Ma. This item is the protective divine artifact of the mansion. With this item, whether it is the princess or the princess, there is no need to worry about their safety. The old man chuckled. Hearing that, Su Yun's face congealed. Chapter 804. After returning to the prison, Su Yun's expression was a little ugly. The defense system of the princess mansion was even tighter than he had imagined, especially the silent ice god star formation. If it was not removed, it would definitely become a disaster. The great princess of the Han Kingdom was about to enter Bingsheng in less than a day, so she had to move quickly. Su Yun ordered someone to find a pen and paper and use the profound qi to condense an ice table, drawing something on the table. Princess Bing and Prince Consort Li, who were in the cell, hurriedly looked over, but they couldn't see it clearly. Their hearts were filled with doubts. What was this guy doing? Brother-in-law, what is this bastard doing now? Her face was extremely pale. Although Su Yun had not done anything to them yet, the arrogance in Princess Bing's heart had already disappeared. The more Su Yun did not do anything, the more afraid she became. This was the fear of the unknown. I don't know. Prince Consort Li shook his head, his face full of seriousness. Su Yun did not care about the people in the cell peeping at him, so the cultivation papers were placed casually. He was completely focused on the painting and did not know what he was doing, but he did not notice that some of the papers had fallen to the ground. And Prince Consort Li, who had been paying attention to this side, finally saw the contents of the paper clearly. It was a beautiful pattern drawn with Xian Qi. These patterns were drawn very neatly and carefully. It looked like a formation. Many details were drawn, such as the eye of the formation pattern, the formation scripture, the formation line, and so on. Everything that should be there was there. Did this guy just draw all of these? To be able to draw them in such a short period of time, he must have done a lot of research on formations. From the looks of it, he was also an expert in using formations. Prince Consort Li thought. At this moment, a cry of surprise came from the side. Prince Consort Li immediately turned his head, only to see Princess Bing's face filled with shock as she stared blankly at the cultivation paper on the ground. What's wrong, Bing Bing? Brother-in-law, this guy is drawing. He's drawing the spirit formation diagram of the princess mansion. Princess Bing shouted in panic, her voice especially loud. What? Spirit formation diagram? Prince Consort Li was also shocked. The noise pulled Su Yun, who was completely focused back. He raised his head and looked at the two people in the cell. He frowned. Can't you guys be quiet? Did you draw the ward boundary map of the princess mansion? He asked anxiously. So what? Su Yun said impatiently. Do you want to break these barriers? Damn you. What exactly do you want to do? This time, Prince Consort Li could no longer sit still. He grabbed onto the bars and growled. Su Yun's actions caused Prince Consort Li's heart to palpitate more and more. He felt that what this fellow wanted to do might affect the entire Han Empire. Don't worry. I don't plan to break the spirit formation diagram of the princess mansion. It's too easy to break it. Do you still need to draw it? Su Yun held the pen and drew on a piece of paper, saying as he drew, the easiest way to break the enchantment is to use force to break it, and the easiest way is to destroy the source. A guy who doesn't know anything about enchantments can do it as long as he has the strength to destroy the enchantment. Destroying the enchantment is that simple, but the difficult part is not to destroy the enchantment, but to modify the enchantment. What I need to do now is to modify the enchantment of the princess mansion and make it serve me, understand? He put down the pen, picked up the cultivation paper on the ground, tidied it up, and held it in his hand. Damn it! Prince Consort Li gritted his teeth. Don't worry, I won't kill you. My goal in coming to the Jianghan realm is only to take something. Once I get it, I will leave immediately, Su Yun said, then turned and left the ice prison. Bastard! Prince Consort Li glared fiercely at Su Yun's back, his eyes revealing waves of viciousness. This meaning was very obscure, and he did not even let Princess Bing, who was beside him, see it. After leaving the ice prison, Su Yun called for the steward again. "Prince Consort Ma, what can I do for you?" The steward nodded and bowed. "I roughly checked and found that there are still some flaws in the defense system of the Princess Mansion. If it can be repaired and improved, it will be a guarantee for the princess to enter and exit," Su Yun said in a dignified manner. "Prince Consort Ma is right. It's just that this lowly one doesn't know anything about this, so I don't know how to improve it." The steward was in a dilemma. "Prince Consort Ma, I have a rough knowledge of magic array techniques. I'll do this. This is the list I just wrote down. You can buy the materials according to the names on the list and send them over within 2 hours." Su Yun handed over a piece of cultivation paper. The steward took it, glanced at it, exclaimed, and immediately turned to run away. Not long after, the steward had prepared the ingredients for Su Yun. Time was of the essence, so Su Yun did not waste any more words with the old man. He directly took the ingredients, sent away some of the guards in the mansion, and began to modify the enchantment. The transformation was a technical job, and the arrays that Su Yun had learned before were much lower level and simpler than the arrays in the ultimate martial world. However, even if it was complicated, it would only be complicated on the surface, and the quality of the interior would not change. At most, it would take more time. The other enchantment formations were only a small problem. What Su Yun was most concerned about was naturally the divine ice hanging on the crystal tree beside the princess courtyard. He had finished his work on the arrays early and directly arrived in front of the divine ice. Looking at the array origin of the silent ice god star formation, Su Yun's eyes could not help but reveal a trace of infatuation. The divine star was magnificent and was not inferior to the stars in the sky. However, what attracted Su Yun was not only its appearance, but also its interior. The power it contained was inestimable. Su Yun believed what the steward had said about the power of the silent ice god star formation. This power was indeed terrifying. He extended his hand and gently caressed the divine star array origin, injecting a bit of profound chi into it. The divine star immediately lit up, and the energy inside started to boil like boiling water. Su Yun anxiously moved his hand away and stopped injecting profound chi into the divine star array origin. This aura is the frigid aqua spirit chi. If I want to restrain it, according to the theory of the 5 elements, the true divine spirit chi is the most suitable. However, if I want to control it, the wild blade chi is more suitable. With that thought, he activated the monarch occult force in his body and changed the attribute of his profound chi. When all the profound strength in his body turned into wild blade chi, he moved it towards the divine star array origin. Inject profound chi. This time, the power within the divine star array origin did not become restless. Instead, it gently swayed like a pendulum with a sense of rhythm. Seeing that, Su Yun was overjoyed. Although he had not controlled this power, it did not reject the wild blade chi, which proved his guess. However, it was very difficult to control such a huge formation through the array origin. He still needed to find the core of the formation, cut it off, and temporarily destroy the formation. This way, controlling the array origin would be easy. A plate of loose sand was definitely much easier to deal with than a brick. Su Yun took out the blueprint he had drawn and made a mark on it. After looking at it a few times, he immediately ran towards Princess Bing's small garden. The eye of the formation was in the small garden. The silent ice god star formation was bestowed upon Princess Bing by the king of the Han Kingdom. Naturally, it was not a low grade, so it would not be easy to deal with it. Su Yun used the lotus star sword to transform into Princess Bing's appearance again, deceiving the guards and maids, and quickly walked into the small garden. After sending them away, he fumbled around in the small garden, holding onto the blueprint. He slowly made his judgment. It had to be said that the silent ice god star formation was ingenious and profound. The range of the formation just so happened to cover the entire princess mansion. The formation was divided into one main eye and 17 branch eyes, Each of the 17 main buildings in the Princess Mansion had a branch eye, and the main eye was located below Princess Bing's small garden. Su Yun held onto the Lotus Star sword, slashed open the ice like ground beneath him, activated the profound chi, and slowly separated it. The core of the formation was not big. It was about the size of a big bowl. Su Yun had to cut a total of 14 meters in length and width before he could find the main core of the formation. The main core of the formation was located in the layer of ice below the small garden. Its color was completely white, and it was somewhat different from the light blue ice block. After finding the main core of the formation, Su Yun did not immediately destroy it. Instead, he took out a piece of ice and injected profound chi into it, then placed it above the main core of the formation. This chi was the true divine spirit chi that restrained the frigid aqua spirit chi. Because it was extremely close to the main core of the formation, it affected the effect of the main core of the formation, causing the power of the entire formation to instantly weaken to the point that it was almost non-existent. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately ran towards the divine star. The true divine spirit chi sealed in the ice would evaporate after 2 hours, so he only had 2 hours to control the silent ice god star array origin, which was no different from a material. However, when Su Yun got close to the big tree, he saw the old steward running over in a hurry. He seemed to have turned a blind eye to the abnormality of the silent ice god star's array origin and immediately shouted at Su Yun. "Prince Consort Ma! Prince Consort Ma! It's here! It's here! The princess has entered the city! The princess is here!" "What?" Su Yun was startled. He grabbed the old steward and asked, "Didn't you say you would arrive a day later? How come it's only been half a day, and the princess is already here?" This lowly one doesn't know either. It's said that the princess knew that something had happened to Princess Bing, so she rushed over here without stopping. Originally, she said that the princess would rest in the ice town for half a day before departing, but who would have thought that the princess would not rest, but instead directly brought her people over here? The old steward had a bitter and helpless look on his face. Hearing that, Su Yun's face darkened. He looked around and asked, "Where is the princess? I just entered the city. Maybe I'm walking towards the princess mansion right now. Where's the honor guard? There's no time to send someone to the city gate to welcome them. They're still waiting at the mansion. Then send someone to welcome them at the entrance of the mansion. Quick, we have to make a big move, and we have to make a big move as well. Go and do it." Su Yun shouted. Chapter 805. When the first princess arrived, everyone in Bingsheng was extremely surprised. They did not know why the first princess would travel thousands of miles from the imperial city to come here. After all, Su Yun had only used the name of Prince Consortly to get the first princess to rush here, and the people in the city did not know about it. A carriage made of ice that was suspended in the air by 7 crystal-clear, frigid sheep entered Bingsheng. There were more than 100 people standing on both sides of the carriage, and there was no lack of spirit cultivator experts with terrifying cultivations. After everyone entered the city, they galloped straight towards the princess mansion. However, when the group reached the vicinity of the princess mansion, they had no choice but to slow down. A large number of honor guards appeared outside the princess mansion. There were more than 300 of them. They stood on the left and right, playing music devoutly and excitedly welcoming the arrival of the first princess. The originally not spacious street was filled to the brim with honor guards, making it extremely inconvenient for the carriage to move. "What's going on?" The curtain of the carriage was lifted. A woman wearing a golden hairpin and a colorful dress stuck her head out and asked the maid beside the carriage. This woman was extremely mature. She had a hot figure, a curvy body, fair skin, and a pretty face. She could be considered a beauty. Hearing the first princess question, the maid quickly replied, "Reporting to princess, it is the honor guard of the princess mansion. They have come to welcome you, princess." "Honor guard? What honor guard? My sister is injured, and the situation is grim. Why is there still a guard of honor? Hurry up and tell them to disperse. I want to enter the palace." The first princess shouted loudly, her voice filled with anxiety. "Yes." The maid nodded, then shouted, "The princess has ordered everyone to move aside. When the honor guard heard this, how could they dare to disobey? They quickly retreated to the left and right, making way for the carriage. The carriage sped up again and headed straight for the princess mansion. However, just as the carriage stopped in front of the princess mansion, a figure, followed by a few higher-ups of the princess mansion, quickly moved towards the carriage. "Greetings, Prince Consort Ma." When the people beside the carriage saw who it was, they all exclaimed. Prince Consortly smiled and gestured for everyone to stand up. He then walked to the carriage and lifted the curtain. When the first princess saw her husband standing beside the carriage, her anxious heart finally felt a little relieved. She placed her hand on Prince Consort Li's big hand and walked down the carriage under his careful care. "My wife, you must be tired from the long journey. Husband, don't talk about this. How is Bing Bing?" The first princess looked at Prince Consort Li without much of a smile on her face and asked directly. "Bing Bing's injuries aren't that serious. She's fine now and is resting in her own small garden. You don't have to worry." Prince Consort Li laughed. "Really?" When the first princess heard this, her worried heart finally relaxed. She heaved a sigh of relief and glanced at Prince Consort Li. Her voice was filled with reproach. "I have something important to do and have returned to the imperial city for a period of time. How did this happen? Didn't I tell you to take good care of Bing Bing?" This is a long story. Bing Bing's injury was not an accident, but because she was trying to catch a spy from Jiang country, she was injured. "A spy from Jiang country?" The first princess frowned. "That's right. The spy is currently locked up in the ice prison." "What can I ask? I haven't interrogated him yet. I've been busy treating Bing Bing during this period of time. My wife, if you want, you can interrogate him yourself." "I'm not interested in that. Let's take a look at Bing Bing first. For her injuries, I even brought my royal father's imperial doctor over. Although you said that Bing Bing is fine right now, just in case, it's better to check it out properly." With that, the first princess waved her hand, and an old man in his 60s walked over. She was about to enter the mansion. "No." Prince Consort Li immediately stood in front of her. The first princess frowned and stared at Prince Consort Li. She shouted in a low voice, "What are you doing?" "Wife, Bing Bing has just received treatment and is still recovering. It's not suitable to disturb her. I think you should visit her later." Prince Consort Li revealed a smile and whispered, "Is that so?" The first princess looked at Prince Consort Li strangely. She felt that there was something wrong with her dual cultivation partner today, but she couldn't tell what was wrong. However, since he had said so, it wouldn't be appropriate for her to go again. She nodded and said, "All right then, I'll go and take a look tomorrow." "Yes." Prince Consort Li smiled. He turned around and said, "Wife, I've already ordered someone to arrange a room for you. You should go rest first. I'll go to the ice prison to interrogate the spy that Bing Bing captured." "Are you still thinking about that spy?" "I'll go with you." The first princess snorted. "I want to see who dares to hurt my sister." Wife, it's better if you don't go. After all, that's a prison cell. If there's any danger, what danger can there be in a cell? Hurry up and lead the way. I still don't know where the prison of the princess mansion is." The first princess insisted. When Prince Consort Li heard this, he did not insist. He led the way and headed straight for the ice prison of the princess mansion. A group of experts followed behind the first princess. There were about 7 or 8 of them. All of them had profound cultivation, and there were 5 spirit empress. They looked around, but it was unknown what they were looking at. As they walked, some of them frowned, as if they had sensed something. One of them quickly walked up and whispered into the first princess's ear, "Princess, the defensive barrier system of the princess mansion seems to be a little weak. There's almost no aura of the barrier around here. No? What do you want to say?" The first princess glanced at him and asked. This subordinate is just a little worried. If it's just the barrier that's broken, then it's fine. If someone, "Sir, don't worry. The barrier has been under repair for the past 2 days. Because the first princess has come here, she has sent people to increase the strength of the barrier. After all, there will be experts from the Jiang country active outside of Bingshan." Prince Consort Li, who was walking in front, suddenly turned his head and smiled at the people behind him. When that person heard that, he was stunned for a moment. He nodded and didn't say anything else. The first princess looked at Prince Consort Li and didn't say anything. She lowered her head and thought about something. Not long after, everyone arrived at the ice prison. However, what made the first princess extremely puzzled was that there was not a single guard outside the ice prison. Is there no head of the ice prison? Yes. Where is he? They've all been sent to be guards of honor. Otherwise, how would the princess mansion be able to gather 300 people? You're simply acting recklessly. Isn't this for you? Prince Consort Li laughed. The first princess snorted. Her face was a little red, and she no longer had a straight face like before. There wasn't a woman who didn't like to listen to sweet words. She didn't expect that this guy who was usually stiff would have such a delicate mind today. Prince Consort Li pushed open the door to the ice prison, and the first princess walked in. Of course, the experts also planned to enter, but they were stopped by Prince Consort Li. You guys wait outside. Prince Consort Ma, we are the first princess personal guards. We were personally appointed by His Majesty and cannot leave the first princess side by side. Please forgive us, Prince Consort Ma. What bullshit personal guard? This is the princess mansion. What? Are you still worried that the first princess will be in danger here? With me accompanying the first princess, what kind of danger could she be in? All of you stand guard outside. Understand? Prince Consort Li's expression suddenly turned solemn as he shouted. Everyone was shocked and stunned. With a bang, the door to the ice prison was slammed shut. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. In the end, they did not persist and stood guard on both sides of the prison door. Inside the ice prison, the Grand Princess walked down the stairs step by step. After taking a few steps, she realized that the ice prison wasn't as cold as she had imagined. There didn't seem to be much ice inside. The prisons of the Han State were all made of ice and were incomparably cold. Only the people of the Han State could get used to such a temperature, and it was impossible for others to get used to it. What's going on? The Grand Princess was puzzled. She turned her head to look behind her and realized that Prince Consort Li had yet to catch up. She immediately shouted, Yun Bai, what are you doing? Hurry up and come down. However, her call did not receive a reply from Prince Consort Li. Instead, a voice floated out from within the prison. Elder sister. The voice was extremely weak, but the Grand Princess was also an expert of the 10th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Upon hearing the voice, her entire body trembled. This was the voice of Princess Bing. She hurriedly ran down the stairs and headed towards the cell. However, the scene in front of her completely shocked her. He looked at the cell at the very front of the prison, where his younger sister and his dual cultivation partner were locked up. She rubbed her eyes to make sure that she wasn't seeing things. Her sister was indeed locked up in the cell with her husband. Wasn't he outside? Why did he suddenly appear in the cell? Prince Consort Li stood up, grabbed onto the bars, and anxiously shouted, Honor, be careful. That person pretended to be me and tricked you into entering the ice prison. Hurry up and escape. Don't be harmed by him. What? Pretending to be you? Could it be that the one from before? It was fake. The Grand Princess was completely stunned. Fake? Facing so many people and so many experts, what kind of profound technique could disguise him as Prince Consort Li without being seen through? Elder sister, let's go. Hurry up and summon the experts from the Imperial City and capture that thief. Otherwise, we'll all be finished. Elder sister, hurry up and leave. Princess Bing shouted. Seeing that the Grand Princess was still in a daze, she became even more anxious. However, not long after she shouted, a voice floated over from the top of the stairs. No need. She won't be able to leave. As the sound of his voice faded, a figure walked over. At first, this person still looked like Prince Consort Li, but after a burst of light appeared on his body and dissipated, his appearance had completely changed. The Grand Princess stared blankly at the unfamiliar person in front of her, her mind completely blank. Chapter 806. Who the hell are you? The Grand Princess retreated a few steps, her back leaning against the wall as she stared at Su Yun vigilantly. He's a spy from the Jiang country. Princess Bing shouted from the prison. I say, are you an idiot? Or deaf? How many times do I have to say that I am not from the Jiang country? Su Yun said somewhat helplessly. If you're not from the Jiang country, Then why did you do this? Why did you trick us here? Prince Consort Li said solemnly. Of course there's a reason for me. I have to admit that this method is indeed despicable, but as matters stand, I have no other choice. Su Yin shook his head. Do you want profound coin? The first princess said vigilantly. If you want profound coin, I can give you as much as you want, but the condition is that you let us go. Profound coin? I don't lack that. What about the magic treasure? I can give you whatever magic treasure you want. Magic treasure? The reason I came here this time is for a magic treasure of your Han state. Su Yin laughed. Hearing this, the first princess' heart skipped a beat. She seemed to have thought of something bad. She gritted her teeth and said anxiously, I can give you any magic treasure, but not long abyssal pearl. Then there's nothing to talk about. You really came for the dragon abyss pearl. I want to use it to save my life. Whose life? My life. The grand princess is silent. Su Yin walked over, opened a cell, and said indifferently, Go in. Do you think I will listen obediently? The first princess raised her head and looked at Su Yin. You can run if you want, but while you're running, I can guarantee that your dual cultivation partner and your sister will die. Su Yin pointed to the two people in the cell. When the first princess heard this, she secretly gritted her teeth. Despicable. Hurry up, Su Yin said. He had hostages in his hands, so the first princess had no choice but to obey. She could only obediently walk towards the cell. However, just as she approached Su Yin, she suddenly raised her hand. An ray of snow light exploded from her palm, attacking Su Yin. This was a magic treasure. However, Su Yin did not move at all, allowing the snow light to attack his body. He did not dodge, nor did he even make any defensive movements. How confident. When the first princess saw this, she sneered again and again. She had used the cold, moon-cold needle bestowed by the king of the Han state, and was able to seal all existences below the fourth stage of the Spirit Emperor. She could not see through Su Yin's cultivation, so she had already determined that Su Yin was definitely an existence of the Spirit Emperor. She did not believe that Su Yin was an existence above the fourth stage of the Spirit Emperor, and if that was the case, there would be no one in the entire Ice City who could fight against him. But the scene in front of her completely stunned the eldest princess. The snowy light dispersed, and the cold air revolved around that person's body. But after a while, it disappeared completely. Looking at that person again, he was actually standing there as if nothing had happened. His body hadn't been frozen. There was no effect at all, as if the magic treasure was broken. How is this possible? The eldest princess took a step back, her body trembling slightly. Her eyes were empty, as if she had lost her soul. Princess Bing and Prince Consort Li, who were in the cell, were also stunned. How could the princess's magic treasure be of low quality? But Su Yin had directly resisted it head-on, and nothing had happened to him at all. In the end, it could only be said that Su Yin was too strong. Your Highness the Princess, I don't like your personality. Although I'm also such a person, I don't like other people treating me like this. The smile on Su Yin's face had already disappeared, and his expression had become serious. He stared at the first princess, stood at the entrance of the cell, opened the cell door, and gestured for her to come in. This was Su Yin's last bit of patience. The first princess trembled. This time, she did not dare to disobey Su Yin's wishes at all, and obediently walked into the cell. Su Yin closed the cell door, glanced at the three of them, and said indifferently, I originally had no intention of doing this, but for the sake of survival, once I obtain the item, I will naturally let you guys go. Do you want to use us to exchange for the Dragon Abyss bead? Prince Consort Li asked. Do you think the three of you are enough? Su Yin asked. The three of them were silent. Right now, for the sake of the Dragon Abyss Pearl, the Jiang country has already started to invade your Han country. I do not understand. Why are you not willing to hand over the Dragon Abyss Pearl to the people of the Jiang country to avoid this war? You don't understand the intricacies of this. Prince Consort Li shook his head. The Dragon Abyss Pearl is the most precious treasure of my Han country, and was originally in the hands of the king. The Jianghan realm is divided into two countries, and the two countries have always been natural enemies, both of them trying to annex each other and unify the Jianghan realm. Before the king was injured, His cultivation was at its peak, and he hoped to rely on the Dragon Abyss Pearl to break through. Not to mention that the Han country was not afraid of the Jiang country at that time, so he did not hand over the Dragon Abyss Pearl. And now that the king is injured, he cannot hand over the Dragon Abyss Pearl even more. He hopes to rely on the Dragon Abyss Pearl to heal his injuries and recover his previous strength. So I think that if you take us as hostages, you might not be able to exchange for the Dragon Abyss Pearl. So what you're saying is that you're of no value to me? Su Yun took out the Lotus Star sword from the sword sheath and said indifferently, "Since that's the case, in order to prevent this matter from being exposed, I can only kill you." When Prince Consortly heard this, his face immediately turned green. He was so scared that his heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly said, No. That's not what I meant. I'm just saying, if you capture us, it will be useless for you to obtain the Dragon Abyss Pearl, and you will also offend the Han state. The gains will not make up for the losses. If I were you, I might as well let the three of us go and think of another way. But I've already offended your Han state. How can I let you go? Furthermore, what I want is the most precious treasure of your Han state. How can I possibly be on good terms with your Han state? I think it would be better to kill all of you to avoid any more trouble. With that, Su Yun raised his sword and walked over. Prince Consortly was dumbfounded. He had wanted to use words to persuade Su Yun to let him go, but he never thought that this person would be so ruthless and kill him just like that. Princess Bing was so scared that she sat paralyzed on the ground. Looking at the beautiful yet murderous sword, her heart almost jumped out of her throat. Stop! At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the side. Su Yun looked towards the direction of the voice and realized that the one who spoke was the first princess. She grabbed onto the railing, her face solemn, her eyes filled with a trace of sinister anger. She looked at Su Yun, gritted her teeth, and said, "Don't hurt us. We will help you get the Dragon Abyss bead." "Help? No need. I don't trust you. After all, the king is your father. How can you harm him? I only hope that you can write a letter to the king." Su Yun said indifferently, "What do you want us to write? It's very simple. Just tell the king about the situation here. Tell him that you are in my hands, and order him to quickly bring the Dragon Abyss bead here in exchange for the lives of the three of you. I said it before, he might not care about the lives of the three of us." Prince Consortly said, "The king definitely doesn't care about your life, and even this princess might not care about it. However, his daughter, I don't know." Su Yun shook his head. Furthermore, now that the Jiang country is approaching, their goal is the Dragon Abyss Pearl. If your king wants to quell the war, he can completely hand the Dragon Abyss Pearl over to me, causing the spear of the Jiang country to point at me. After losing the Dragon Abyss Pearl, Royal Father's cultivation will not be able to recover. The Jiang country will definitely take the opportunity to annex our Han nation. The first princess gritted her teeth. But even if the king obtains the Dragon Abyss Pearl, it won't change anything. If he can use the Dragon Abyss Pearl to recover his strength, why would he wait for the battle to worsen to such an extent? Therefore, the Dragon Abyss Pearl is a hot potato to your country right now." Su Yun said. When the first princess heard this, she did not say anything else. Su Yun took out a pen and paper and passed it to the first princess. She looked at the glowing pen and paper in front of her and clenched her fists tightly. However, in the end, she still chose to compromise, picked up the pen, and started drawing on the paper. These words were all injected with profound chi, because the recording stone could be forged, but this was the only thing that could not be forged. As long as this letter was sent to the imperial city, the king would definitely believe that the first princess and the others were indeed in Su Yun's hands. After the letter was written, the first princess threw it out of the cell. "You will regret this. Although we are not your match, there are countless experts in the imperial city. If the king finds out, he will definitely be furious, and all the experts will come out. You alone will not be able to contend against them. And if you let us go now, I can guarantee that I will not touch a single hair on your head, and will let you leave the Han nation." The princess did not give up and said, but Su Yun turned a deaf ear to him. Holding the letter, he walked toward the prison door. Clang! He kicked the door open, causing the spirit cultivator-s who were guarding outside to jump in fright. They turned their heads to look and when they saw Su Yun, they were all startled, and in an instant, someone reacted and rushed toward Su Yun. "Don't move. Your princess and prince consort are in my hands, and the enchantment in this mansion has also been modified by me. As long as I am willing, I can kill the three of them in an instant," Su Yun said directly. His tone was like that of a bandit. Some people believed him, some people did not, and the attacks continued. Seeing that, Su Yun secretly snorted and directly raised his leg to kick the nearest spirit cultivator. Dong! That person's abdomen was directly pierced through by the kick. A large hole appeared on his abdomen, and he flew out, crashing into a pavilion not far away. The pavilion's enchantment was shattered, and it collapsed in an instant. Such a commotion caused an uproar in the princess mansion. A large number of guards rushed over, and when the experts saw this, their faces revealed fear. They did not dare to be impudent anymore. That was a cultivator of the first stage of the Spirit Emperor. He was actually sent flying by this person's kick. Although everyone saw that Su Yun was only at the first stage of the Spirit Emperor, the magic treasure on his body and the special chi in his body allowed him to possess more than just the strength of the first stage of the Spirit Emperor. If they did not send a third or even fourth grade expert to fight against him, it would be impossible to restrain him. Su Yun looked at the people around him, threw the letter in his hand out, and said coldly, "If you want to protect the lives of your princess, and the others, then immediately send this to the imperial city and hand it over to the king. I will give you 5 days. Go now." 5 days? It will take at least 7 days to travel to and from the imperial city. We can't have too much time. How can a dignified country not have a teleportation magic treasure? You guys think of a way yourself. Also, bring all the guards in the mansion and the city out of the city. If you don't do as I say, I will immediately kill them. With that, Su Yun turned around and closed the prison door with a bang. Chapter 807. When the prison door was closed, the spirit cultivator outside immediately took action. They could not see the princess, but they recognized the princess' profound chi, and the words on the letter were condensed from the first princess' profound chi, so there was no way it could be fake. As a result, the entire Bingsheng was in an uproar. For some reason, the people saw a large number of Han troops stationed in the city continuously heading out of the city. Outside the princess mansion, people were coming and going. The experts who had followed the first princess had all left, leaving only one person to take charge of the situation. Quick, send out all the people in the mansion. Don't leave a single one behind. Leave them all outside the city to guard. In addition, arrange for more scouts to be stationed near Bingsheng. If there's any movement from Jiang country, immediately report to us. My lord, what happened? Everything was fine. Why did he send all the forces in the city out of the city? Did the people of Jiang country call? But if the Jiang country's army attacks, shouldn't we be defending the city? Why are you asking so many questions? Do you need to worry about these things? Hurry up and do as I say. Don't worry about anything else. But my lord, hurry up. Don't waste words. How dare you say another word? I won't let you off so easily. Yes, this lowly one will do it immediately. Humph. The man glanced at the person who had left, then turned and walked into the mansion. At this moment, all the guards in the mansion had been transferred away, leaving only the servants and maids with low cultivation. All the enchantments in the mansion had been activated, but Su Yun had the right to control them. The princess guard called for the old man in charge again. My lord, in the near future, the situation in the princess mansion will be rather special. You have to strictly manage everyone and let them do their jobs. In addition, if anyone makes wild guesses and starts a rumor, they will be directly killed. The few cities outside of Bingsheng have already been occupied by the people of Jiang country, and the army of Jiang country can approach Bingsheng at any time. My lord, if that's the case, why did you transfer all the forces in the city to the outside? The old steward was puzzled. With the enemy approaching, moving the guards outside the city was no different from suicide. Don't ask so much. Can't you see that I've opened all the city gates? As for why we have to do this, I can only tell you that this is the princess's will. You can tell the others this. Don't worry, this won't last long. Everything will be back to normal in a few days. Hurry up and get it done. Yes, my lord. The old butler didn't dare to ask any more questions. He understood that as a servant, knowing more might not be a good thing. After the old manager left, the princess's guard immediately turned around and walked quickly towards the ice prison. At that moment, the outside of the ice prison was surrounded by circles of barriers. These barriers were like layers upon layers of barriers, tightly enclosing the entire ice prison. These were all enchantments that Su Yun had set up. The princess's guard stopped in front of the enchantment, then cupped his fists and said, "I have already followed your orders. The others have already rushed to the imperial city to inform the king of this matter. I believe that the king will order people to bring Longming Zhu to Ice City in the future." Got it. You've done well. Don't worry, whether it's the princess, or prince consort, I can guarantee that they won't be harmed in the slightest. The premise is that you guys are willing to listen to me obediently and not play any tricks. Su Yun's voice came from inside the cell. Don't worry, we will definitely do as you say. We will definitely not have any ulterior motives. That's for the best. Su Yun muttered to himself from inside the door and no longer spoke. He sat cross-legged inside by himself, calming his mind and recuperating. The people in the cell were also very quiet. Prince Consort Li and the first princess were also meditating. On the other hand, Princess Bing was completely unable to calm down. She was curled up in a corner, her body trembling in fear. Because there was no longer the influence of the cold Chia ray, the prisoners in the prison gradually recovered. Although these people did not know who Su Yun was from their conversation with the first princess and the others, they knew that Su Yun's goal was Longming Zhu. Since it was for Longming Zhu, then it was the enemy of the Han state, and also the friend of these prisoners. My lord, please save me. As long as you save me, I could do anything for you. I can help you get the Dragon Abyss bead, my lord. My lord, please save me. Let me go, I can help you, my lord. My lord, please do me a favor and let me go. The prisoners leaned on the bars and shouted at Su Yun. Hearing that, Su Yun became interested. He stood up and walked towards the prison cell. Seeing Su Yun coming over, the prisoners became even more excited, and their shouts became louder and louder, as if they wanted to press their mouths against Su Yun's ears and shout. Do you want me to let you out? It's very simple, but I don't trust you. Su Yun rubbed his chin, glanced at the prisoners, and realized that most of them were between the 7th and 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. There were no Spirit Emperoress, but even so, it was not bad. My lord, I can swear to you, I will be loyal to you, absolutely loyal to you. I will never change it. A prisoner said excitedly. He knelt on the ground, looking miserable and crying. Su Yun glanced at him and asked, "How did you get in?" "He's a spy from Jiang country." Before the prisoner could say anything, Princess Bing shouted, "Injustice." "I'm not." The man shouted anxiously. "Since you're not a spy, how did you sneak into my princess's mansion? I even caught you on the spot." The prisoner stammered for a long time, but was unable to say anything. "Tell me the truth." Su Yun's face suddenly darkened, and he shouted coldly, "If you don't speak the truth, immediately kill you, destroy your soul, and show no mercy." With that said, the prisoner was so scared that his entire body trembled. He did not even stutter as he hurriedly said, "I only heard that the princess of Bingcheng is as beautiful as a fairy and has a special physique, so I plan to kidnap her and raise her as a double cultivation female slave." When Princess Bing heard this, she was almost angered to death. "Oh, so it's for the sake of being a passionate person." Su Yun was also extremely amused. He felt that this was a flower thief. "So you were harboring such evil intentions. I should have torn you to pieces back then." Princess Bing said hatefully, "Damned girl, you can't even protect yourself now, and you still want to kill me? I want to see which of us will die first." The man glared fiercely at Princess Bing and shouted. However, just as he finished speaking, a burst of profound energy struck his abdomen, and his entire body was sent flying, directly crashing into the wall behind him. When he landed, The man spat out a mouthful of blood, and the profound chi in his body immediately collapsed. This move had forcefully knocked down several levels of his cultivation. The people in the other cells all sucked in a breath of cold air. They were extremely shocked. Su Yun lowered his head, stared at the prisoner who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, and said solemnly, "Did I ask you to speak so loudly?" His voice was extremely cold, like an ice needle, causing people to tremble in fear. That majestic and baleful aura struck straight at their hearts. None of the people in the prison dared to make a sound. They all looked at him in fear. Su Yun secretly snorted and coldly swept his gaze across him. "I heard that Princess Bing is beautiful and came to steal it. I believe you have done quite a few of these things in the past. I can tolerate your despicable and shameless behavior, but there must be a bottom line in everything. I hate things like raping women and slaughtering children the most." His words were beautiful, and they instantly became lofty. However, what he had done to Hu Chime back then was not much better than this criminal. Su Yun did not care about the prisoner and directly walked to the next cell. Inside the cell was a bald man with a fierce face, with a fierce expression. One look was enough to tell that he was not a good person. He asked, "Then what about you? What did you do this time?" "I was just trying to steal some treasures." Princess Bing is deeply loved by the current king and has received a lot of rewards from him. I was thinking of getting some oil from Princess Bing to help her cultivate, so I took advantage of her when she was out playing to rob her. Unexpectedly, I failed and was subdued by her magic treasure," the big man said. Su Yun looked at him, then looked at Princess Bing, only to see her shout again, "No way, you clearly want to rape me." When the big man heard this, he didn't say a word. Princess Bing's words more or less had the intention of borrowing a knife to kill someone. After all, Su Yun had said those words before. On the other hand, Su Yun suddenly turned around and stared straight at her. Seeing that, Princess Bing immediately covered her mouth, her entire body trembling. She was frightened by Su Yun. "Do you really think you're beautiful? How can there be so many people interested in you? Don't be too narcissistic." As soon as she said this, Princess Bing's face turned pale. Although her cultivation was not strong, she was very confident in her looks. She might not be the kind of person who would be infatuated with people at first glance, but she was definitely the kind of person who could seduce a man's soul. However, Su Yun's words mercilessly destroyed her confidence in her looks and ruthlessly hammered her, causing her extreme pain. "Enough. We've already done as you ordered. Please don't torture Bing Bing anymore, okay?" The Grand Princess could not bear to watch any longer. She clenched her teeth and shouted, "Torture?" Su Yun laughed coldly. "Can a few words torture her? Heh, I think her 5th stage of Sky Spirit Master cultivation was also raised by swallowing profound coiness, right? With such a clumsy mental state, how could he achieve anything? How laughable. With your mentality, you can't even compare to some mortals." "You." The Grand Princess was so angry that she couldn't even speak. Su Yun could not be bothered with her, and directly opened the person's cell. "Guard the door." He pointed to the entrance of the ice prison and said. The big-sized man immediately nodded and quickly walked over. As if he was standing guard, he stood at the entrance. Su Yun nodded his head in satisfaction and said, "When I finish this matter, you will be able to regain your freedom. Of course, do not leave the pool, otherwise no one will be able to protect you." "Yes, my lord." The big-sized man nodded. "Yes." Su Yun turned and continued to walk towards the next cell. Chapter 808. Princess Bing was a spirit cultivator who relied on external factors to forcefully raise her cultivation. Although such a person's cultivation was high, his temperament was not high, and the things he did were not reliable. Some of the prisoners in the ice prison were indeed unforgivable evildoers, but some of them were wrongly accused like Su Yun. Su Yun chose 3 reliable fellows and asked them to help him with some things. There were some things that were risky to hand over to the people of Han, but he could not trust all of them. If they sold them out in exchange for innocence, then Su Yun would suffer a huge loss. The 3 of them had a clear division of labor, but none of them were important jobs. One of them guarded the door for Su Yun, One guarded the door for the mansion, and the last one guarded the city gate. Suyin had to stay in the ice prison and hold these 3 hostages hostage. It was hard to know what was going on outside, and the information he obtained from the servants in the mansion was inevitably false. He could not believe it, and although the imperial battle robe could allow the primordial spirit to leave its body to investigate, Su Yun was more willing to use this limited time where it should be used. After breaking through, Su Yun did his best to consolidate his profound qi and prepare to deal with the situation in the future. Right now, it was a gamble on the position of the first princess and the others in the king's heart. If he still cared about his daughter and family, he would hand over the Dragon Abyss Pearl in exchange for the lives of the 3 of them. If he did not care, then the people from the imperial city that he sent to Bingcheng would all be experts with powerful cultivations. Regardless of whether or not he could obtain the Dragon Abyssal Pearl, he should prepare a way out in advance. After meditating for an entire day, the mansion was safe and sound. Suyin opened his eyes, adjusted it for a moment, then took out the blueprint from before and started to ponder on it again. The 3 people in the cell quietly sized up Su Yun, each of them thinking of a plan to escape. But this was a cell. Without the key, they could not leave, let alone escape under Su Yun's nose. It had been 4 days since the first princess guards had left for the imperial city. Su Yun calculated for a while. He reckoned that there should be news from the imperial city. He quietly waited in the ice prison, neither anxious nor noisy. His mentality was extremely good. The first princess looked at her husband and sister. Prince Consort Li was still sitting cross-legged, while Princess Bing was still trembling in fear. She sighed, stood up, leaned against the bars, and asked Su Yun, "You said you used the Dragon Abyss bead to save your own life. According to what I know, the Dragon Abyss bead is not a medicinal pill, nor is it some powerful magic treasure. How are you going to use it to save your life?" Su Yun opened his eyes slightly and glanced at her, but did not say anything. When the Grand Princess saw this, she was quite angry and said, "You have the Dragon Abyss Pearl, but you don't know how to use it. Isn't that unnecessary?" However, Su Yun still did not speak. The first princess persevered and spoke again, but before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by Su Yun. "You're talking to me because you want to understand me so that you can get a better understanding of me and then find a way to escape, right? Furthermore, how difficult could the method to use the Dragon Abyss Pearl be? Even if I don't know about it, many people in the universe know about it. This is no secret." Su Yun laughed. When the first princess heard this, she was stunned for a moment. She lowered her eyebrows and thought for a moment, then said, "You're right, I do want to understand you, but I'm not thinking of a way to escape because I know that Royal Father will definitely use the Dragon Abyss Pearl to exchange for my safety, so there's no need to escape. I just want to know who exactly has the guts to kidnap the princess consort in the Han Empire and steal the treasure. Who is it?" A trace of loneliness and complexity flashed past Su Yun's eyes. "I don't know who I am either. How should I tell you?" He had killed millions of people, massacred countless living beings, and was surrounded by a vicious aura. This was the current Su Yun. He originally had no intention of becoming a demon, but the matters of the world forced him to do so. Although the ugliness and evil in this world had never disappeared, not everyone was willing to do so. Some of them were forced to do so. But no matter what, once he obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl and cleansed his evil aura, everything would be over. At that time, he would collect the soul of the Sword Ancestor and bring Qing'er to see his parents, returning to the Sky Martial Continent to enjoy peace and quiet. He was originally a person without much ambition. Step by step, he had not taken the initiative to reach where he was today. Of course, he understood one more thing. If he wanted to protect everything, he had to have the strength to fight against everything. Seeing Su Yun's expression, the first princess was startled and thought to herself, "This is a person with a story." Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the prison door, followed by a voice. "Master, there's news from the top of the city wall, saying that the people from the imperial city have arrived. They just entered the city. They're rushing towards the princess mansion." "How many people have come?" Su Yun opened his eyes and asked indifferently. Not many, only two people. Two. Yes, two. Great General Li Guangyuan and Crown Prince Jiu Li. Li Guangyuan? Jiu Li. Li Guanyin is the great general of the Han Kingdom. He is in charge of half of the Han Kingdom's troops. He has authority over the court. His cultivation is profound. He has the strength of the seventh stage of the Spirit Emperor. He is the biological father of Prince Consort Li in prison. He is the only son of the current king. He is deeply doted on by the king, and in his early years, he has entered the hidden sect, Thousand Ice Valley, and obtained the true teachings of the Valley Master. His cultivation is also at the fourth stage of the Spirit Emperor, and his frigid aqua spirit chi has reached perfection. He is also a master that is not easy to deal with. These two people came. Although his strength was not ordinary, his status was also extraordinary. It could be said that the Han Kingdom had sent these two people with sincerity. Then did they bring the Dragon Abyss Pearl? Su Yun asked. I don't know. They didn't take it out. I don't know if it was placed in the space bag, but we didn't dare to ask. So, it's like that. Su Yun opened his eyes, thought for a while, then said, Wait here, pass the message for me. Yes, my lord. After the man finished speaking, he stood outside the door. Su Yun closed his eyes again and listened quietly. After about 20 breaths of time, two powerful auras came from outside the mansion. The moment the aura entered the mansion, it went straight to the ice prison. The aura was very concealed, and the master seemed to have purposely restrained it, but Su Yun still caught it. Not long after, he heard the shout of the big man at the door. You two stop right there. The two people who were close to the prison stopped in their tracks and frowned as they stared at the big man. These two people were Great General Li Guangyuan and Crown Prince Jiu Li, who had just entered the city. Li Guangyuan was a very mighty middle-aged man. He was tall and sturdy, with a huge head. The Crown Prince, Jiu Li, was delicate and handsome. He had a long and exquisite face that was common to men in the Han Kingdom, and had a noble temperament. The two of them had restrained their auras and did not bring any followers. They did not even bring any sabers with them and came empty-handed. When he heard the big man shout, the white-faced Crown Prince, Jiu Li, opened his mouth. I am the Crown Prince, Jiu Li, and this is the great general of the Han Kingdom, Li Guangyuan. The king has received your letter and has specially ordered the two of us to bring Longming Zhu here to exchange people. Are you the one who kidnapped my sister? Jiu Li asked. However, the big man did not answer his question and directly shouted, Where is Longming Zhu? In the space bag at my waist. Take it out. No problem, but I want to see my sister first. If I don't see Longming Zhu, you won't be able to see the princess. Is that so? He snorted and said in a deep voice, Since that's the case, then there's nothing else to say. With that, he was about to leave. But just as Jiu Li and Li Guangyuan were about to leave, a voice came from the ice prison. Zhang Xiong, watch them leave. After they leave the mansion, immediately report to me so that I can send the first princess and prince consort on their way. It was Su Yun's voice, incomparably indifferent, as if he did not care about Longming Zhu's gains or losses in the slightest. When the man called Zhang Xiong heard this, he immediately nodded. However, when Li Guangyuan and Jiu Li heard this, their expressions turned exceptionally ugly. The two of them stopped in their tracks, their movements stiff. They looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Actually, when they said that they wanted to leave, they were just testing Su Yun's attitude. One of them was the Crown Prince's elder sister, and the other was the general's son. How could they give up just like that? If the two of you want to leave, then leave quickly. If the two of you want to stay, then take out the Dragon Abyss bead and take a look. Just then, Su Yun's voice came out from the ice prison again. His attitude had already been made clear. It was up to Jiu Li and Li Guangyuan. The two of them hesitated for a moment and secretly looked at each other. After a moment of silence, they finally chose to compromise. After all, the initiative was in Su Yun's hands. In that case, all right, Jiao, she said in a deep voice. He then reached into the space bag and quickly took out a golden embroidered box. When the brocade box appeared, Zhang Xiong's eyes immediately felt as if they were attracted by a magnet, unable to move away. It was as if a hungry wolf had seen a lamb. Jiao glanced at Zhang Xiong and opened the brocade box. The box revealed a crack, and immediately, light splashed out, burning one's eyes. When the light gradually faded, a blue crystal clear pearl appeared in Zhang Xiong's eyes. Zhang Xiong's eyes immediately lit up. His mouth was wide open as he stared blankly at the pearl, Dragon Abyssal Pearl. This was the Dragon Abyssal Pearl. His heart was beating wildly, and he felt as if his soul was about to fly towards the bead. This aura was definitely that of a Dragon Abyssal Pearl. Only a treasure like that could emit such an aura. Seeing Zhang Xiong's expression, Jiao Li secretly sneered and closed the box. Is that okay now? Zhang Xiong's entire body trembled, and only then did he come back to his senses. He took a deep breath, turned around, and cupped his fist towards the door of the ice prison. My lord, it's the Dragon Abyssal Pearl. Yes. Then, can you open the prison door and let us see him? Jiao Li shouted. Bring the Dragon Abyssal Pearl over first. Su Yun's voice came again. Don't even think about it, he said in a deep voice. If you can't see him, you will definitely not be able to obtain the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? If you really want to kill me, then I have nothing to say. If you kill them, I can guarantee that you will definitely not be able to obtain the Dragon Abyssal Pearl. Jiao Li said in an incomparably serious tone. As soon as he said this, the ice prison fell silent. Zhang Xiong stared at the ice prison, feeling rather nervous. After a while, the voice rang out again. Zhang Xiong, bring them in. Chapter 809. Zhang Xiong pushed the door open, and when the Crown Prince saw this, he immediately walked over. Your Highness the Crown Prince, please slow down. Let me walk in front. Li Guangyuan pressed down on the Crown Prince's shoulder and said with a solemn expression. His appearance was quite similar to Prince Consort Li's, but there were already wrinkles on his face, and he had a mustache. He looked dignified without being angry, and had the demeanor of a general. The Crown Prince was silent for a moment, then nodded and took a step back. Li Guangyuan immediately walked forward. There's no need to be like this. This is not a dragon's pool or a tiger's den. It's just a cell in the princess mansion. Don't worry. I only want Longming Zhu. I won't harm your lives, of course. That's only if you don't force me. Su Yun's voice floated out again. The two of them walked into the ice prison without saying a word. After entering the door, it wasn't as cold as he had imagined. All the ice in the ice prison had melted, and even the water had evaporated, revealing pieces of stone. The light was somewhat dim. At the head of the ice table, a man dressed in a black robe was crossing his legs. Looking at Li Guangyuan and the Crown Prince who were descending, there was not much fear or nervousness on his face. Facing the two Spirit Emperor experts, he did not even take a defensive stance. Jiao Li secretly checked Su Yun's chi and discovered that this guy was just an existence that had just entered the first stage of the Spirit Emperor. He didn't know how many people with such low strength he could kill. However, although the cultivation of the person in front of him wasn't high, he gave off an indescribably profound feeling. In addition, this person wasn't panicking at all. He was calm and didn't dare to act recklessly. Although he wasn't strong, this fellow definitely had other methods. Jiao Shi thought to himself, little brother Shi, big brother Jiao Li. Two joyful voices came from the cell. They were the Grand Princess and Princess Bing. Father, Crown Prince. When Prince Consort Li saw the two people coming down, he did not have much surprise on his face. Instead, he felt ashamed. The three of them had actually become someone else's prisoners. If this matter were spread out, Prince Consort Li would truly lose much face. Princess Bing was wild with joy at this moment. The arrival of the two of them proved that the king did not give up on her for the sake of Longming Zhu. How could she not be happy? The Grand Princess was only happy for a while before her face revealed worry and worry. She didn't want to lose the Dragon Abyssal Pearl because of her, but the situation was so unfavorable. Son, are you all right? Li Guangyuan saw his son in the prison and quickly asked. I'm fine, Dad. Your son is incompetent and has embarrassed you. Prince Consort Li said in shame. There's nothing to be ashamed of. The world is so big, and there are countless people with special abilities. This is not strange at all. But you must remember this lesson and cultivate hard in the future, understand? I will remember father's teachings. Yes, Li Guangyan nodded, then cupped his fist towards the first princess and Princess Bing, and said, Princess, please rest assured, this humble subject will definitely rescue you all safe and sound. Thank you, General, the first princess said. Safe and sound? That wasn't difficult. Give me the dragon abyssal pearl. Won't they come out? Just then, Su Yin interrupted. Li Guangyuan frowned and did not say anything. Crown Prince Jiao, Li said in a deep voice, let him go first. Isn't he there? I didn't kidnap them. Su Yin threw the key on the table to the Crown Prince and said indifferently, go and put it yourself. Give me the dragon abyssal pearl and then quickly bring them away. His actions could be said to be a blatant disregard and contempt, directly giving him the key. Although it looked very arrogant, the Crown Prince was more and more convinced that this fellow's strength was not simple. He didn't waste any more words and handed the key to Li Guangyuan. Li Guangyuan nodded and immediately went to open the cell. Dragon abyssal pearl. Su Yun extended his hand. Seeing this, Jiali was not in a hurry to give it to him. Instead, he said, now that he is in our hands, if I don't give it to you, what can you do to us? Hearing that, Su Yun turned to look at him and then laughed softly. I think you still haven't figured out the situation, right? Right now, it's not that you guys are in my hands, but all of you are in my hands. If you don't hand over the dragon abyssal pearl, I'm afraid that even you will die here. Why are you so confident? Do you think you can contend against two spirit emperors? Jiaoshi said in a deep voice. The reason why the imperial city sent the Crown Prince and Li Guangyuan over was not only because their identities were important, but also because they were extremely powerful. When the two of them entered the Ice City, they had consumed the attribute of the profound strength's qi, so when others tried to differentiate their qi, they would only treat the two of them as people at the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, and would not be too vigilant. However, Su Yin had already seen through everything. His sensitivity to qi was simply too strong. The existence of the Spirit Emperor? Isn't it just a 7th stage Spirit Emperor and a 4th stage Spirit Emperor? Although I am not some peerless supreme expert, it is not difficult for me to deal with the two of you. Su Yun said with a smile. His expression was not the least bit nervous, but instead had a relaxed expression, and continued, furthermore, I don't need to do anything to deal with you guys as long as I activate this barrier. Wouldn't you guys be able to settle it? While speaking, everyone saw that on the ice table in front of Su Yun, a water blue array pattern had actually appeared. The array pattern was overflowing with light. It was incomparably mystical. And at the moment, Su Yun's hand was placed on top of the array pattern, only a finger's distance away from the activation point in the center. The Crown Prince's expression changed slightly. Li Guangyuan took a few steps forward and stood in front of the Crown Prince. He stared at Su Yun and asked, what is this? The spirit formation of the Princess Mansion. Su Yun laughed. Spirit formation? Could it be you? Prince Consort Li's pupils dilated. That's right, in the past few days, I've made some modifications to the barrier in the Princess Mansion. Even the silent ice god star formation. He said with a smile. When these words fell to the ground, Princess Bing, who was in the cell, sat on the ground while trembling, looking at Su Yun in fear. How could she have thought that Su Yun would have such a method? So that's how it is. Are you studying the enchantments in the mansion to transform them into your weapons? Prince Consort Li clenched his teeth and said, sort of. Damn it. Prince Consort Li was furious. Although the Crown Prince and Li Guangyuan didn't really understand, they still had a rough idea. It was likely that Su Yun had done something to the enchantment in the Princess Mansion. With these enchantments, the people in the Princess Mansion were indeed like turtles in a jar. I originally thought that the Imperial City would send other experts over, but I never thought that your king would actually send the two of you over. A Crown Prince and a General. The two of you are really important. As matters stand, I believe that the king will no longer abandon you for the sake of the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Now, hand over the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Su Yun said, you're so despicable. I'm just trying to survive. Su Yun shook his head. If it wasn't for his life, he wouldn't have done such a despicable thing. The Crown Prince had no other choice but to compromise. He took a deep breath and reached into the space bag again. After rummaging through it for a moment, he took out the brocade box that contained the dragon abyss pearl. Su Yun's eyes lit up. He immediately stood up and took the box. He opened it and took a look. The moment the lid was lifted, a fragrance wafted into his nostrils. The beautiful blue pearl was like the eye of a dragon, beautiful and wonderful. Su Yun had previously asked the first princess and Princess Bing about the basic information of the dragon abyss pearl. According to their descriptions, this must be the dragon abyss pearl. Su Yun was overjoyed. He closed the brocade box, turned his head, and said to Zhang Xiong, "Zhang Xiong, I've already obtained the item and am about to leave. You should also leave quickly, in case you are unable to leave later." Hearing that, Zhang Xiong did not hesitate. He cupped his fists and said, "Master, I will repay your kindness in the future." With that, he flew away and left. "Go. I'm afraid it won't be that easy, right?" At this moment, a cold and sinister expression suddenly appeared on the Crown Prince's face. In that moment, Li Guangyuan took out a golden flag and activated it. A circle of golden light blossomed in front of Su Yun's eyes, and at the same time, Su Yun was shocked to discover that the brocade box in his hand suddenly released a terrifying and peerless destructive aura. This aura was like a flood and ferocious beast, instantly engulfing Su Yun's entire body. What? Su Yun was stunned. Don't! A golden mushroom cloud exploded above the Bingcheng Princess Mansion. The violent explosion spread throughout the entire Ice City, and the entire Princess Mansion, along with dozens of surrounding buildings, were instantly turned into ashes. The terrifying destructive force shook the entire city. The shockwaves spread far and wide, and even the walls of the Ice City were torn apart. All the buildings in the city were damaged to varying degrees, and the people in the city suffered an unexpected disaster. Those who were close to the Princess Mansion spat out blood from the sudden explosion, and many people died. As for those who were further away, they did not have it easy either. Other than the soldiers outside the city, no one was spared. The explosion created a large snow-white ice flower. Before Zhang Xiong could escape, his body was torn apart by the explosion. Not even his soul was left behind. The ice flowers rippled in the wind, sweeping away countless wailing and crying souls. However, there were several figures standing within the ice flowers. Jiu Li, the first princess of the Han state, the princess, the prince consort, and the great general Li Guangyuan who held the golden war flag. The golden war flag released a small golden-brown chi barrier, surrounding everyone within it. No matter how terrifying the explosion was, it would not be able to harm the people within the chi barrier. However, this sudden explosion caused the Grand Princess, Princess Bing, and Prince Consort Li to be completely stunned. Their heads were buzzing and blank. It took them a long time to regain their senses. They opened their eyes and scanned their surroundings. They saw that the originally bustling Princess Mansion was now in ruins. Nothing was left. Everyone in the Princess Mansion was scared out of their wits in that instant. Chapter 8:10. What was going on? Big Brother Jiu Li, what was going on? How could it be? How could it become like this? Princess Bing stared blankly at her surroundings. She looked at her own mansion as if she had lost her soul. Seeing this, the Grand Princess hurriedly hugged Princess Bing and comforted her softly. She then turned to look at the Crown Prince. Little brother this. No need to be surprised. This is what royal father wants. Crown Prince Jiao, she said indifferently. That brocade box that contains the Dragon Abyss bead is actually a destructive magic treasure. The Dragon Abyss bead is the most precious treasure of our Han Empire. How can it be easily handed over to others? Furthermore, this person is extremely arrogant to actually dare to attack the royal family of our Han Empire. How can we let him off so easily? If this matter were to spread, our Han people would definitely be ridiculed by the people of Jiang. Thus, royal father has decided to directly kill this person without mercy. He looked around and saw a round object shining in the ruins not far away. Looking at it, he saw that it was the Dragon Abyss bead. He immediately walked over and picked it up, putting it into the space bag. Looks like everything is going well. But if that's the case, wouldn't it hurt the surrounding people? With such astonishing destructive power, I'm afraid the entire Bingxiang. The Grand Princess hesitated. This kind of power was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. What is it? His heart ached? Why should he care about a mere lowly commoner? The Dragon Abyss bead is related to the face of our Han Empire and can even allow Royal Father to recover his cultivation. We cannot lose it, and sacrificing a few lowly commoners in exchange for the Dragon Abyss bead. Why not? The Crown Prince said coldly. His voice was exceptionally cold. The Grand Princess was silent for a moment and did not make a sound. On the other hand, Princess Bing was unhappy. She cried out, "Big Brother Julie, you destroy my mansion. This is the mansion that Uncle bestowed to me. It was destroyed just like that. Just like that. Bing Bing, don't feel sorry for yourself. After this matter is over, I will ask Royal Father for another big house for you. Okay? Don't cry, don't cry." The Grand Princess comforted her. Really? Really? The Grand Princess said seriously. When Princess Bing heard this, she felt a little better. Prince Consort Li was a little speechless. He thought that Princess Bing was sad about the innocent people of Bingxiang who were killed by the explosion, but he didn't expect that she was just feeling sorry for her house. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, after receiving this attack, the damage to Bingxiang will definitely not be light. Right now, there might be a lot of spies from the Jiang country outside of Bingxiang, so this humble subject thinks that we should quickly set up our defenses. If the people of Jiang country were to attack at this time, I'm afraid that even Bingxiang would be lost." General Li Guangyuan cupped his fists and said, "You're right. This is also the reason why Imperial Father sent us here." Reason? Could it be that His Majesty has some other orders? Of course. The corner of Jiao Li's mouth raised into a faint smile. "Let me tell you the truth, General Li. Royal Father has already ordered General Chanmai to lead 100,000 elite soldiers above the 6th stage of the Sky Spirit Master over here. From the moment we left the Imperial City, they did not stop. They traveled day and night and rushed straight towards here." An army of 100,000? Li Guangyuan's eyes narrowed. This was enough to start a war. I'm sure General Li has already guessed it. Actually, that explosion was not only to get rid of that arrogant thief, but also to numb the people of the Jiang country. Once this news gets out, it will definitely reach the ears of the people of the Jiang country, and they will send people to Bingxiang to investigate. Seeing that the city walls are broken, the people's hearts are scattered, and they will definitely invade and attack the Jiang country. And that 100,000-strong army is a knife that we have ruthlessly stabbed into the people of the Jiang country. I reckon that General Chan will lead the army here in 2 days, and how to fight the next battle will depend on the generals. After all, I am an outsider." Hearing that, Li Guangyuan was extremely excited. What was the most important thing in war? The people of Jiang country did not know that this was a trap, and even thought that this was an opportunity. They would definitely attack Bingxiang at all costs, and if they sent an army to surround and kill them from the back, they would definitely be able to catch the Jiang country off guard. This was a good opportunity. Immediately, Li Guangyuan cupped his fists and said, "This lowly general will definitely not fail his mission. All right, time is of the essence. Everyone should hurry up and move. Prince Consort Li, please help me arrange for my sisters to return to the Imperial City. This place is about to become a land of war. It's not safe. Your Highness, don't worry." "All right." The Crown Prince nodded and was about to turn around and leave to make the arrangements. However, at this moment, a voice suddenly floated out from the icy mist. "I say, you guys can fight, but can you give me the Dragon Abyss bead?" This lazy voice echoed out, causing the surrounding people to freeze in shock. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice in unison, only to see that the icy mist had slowly dissipated and a pitch-black figure leisurely walked out from within. Jiu Li's heart immediately tensed up, as if it was about to stop beating. He took a look. It was Su Yin. What? He stared blankly at the person who walked out. Almost not daring to believe his own eyes, Su Yin looked around, and discovered that the entire princess mansion had been turned into ruins, and immediately sighed. The entire mansion is gone. Such a great power? You guys are really ruthless. I didn't even have time to activate the barrier. TSK. This is all for nothing. I was hoping to use the barrier to subdue you guys. How is this possible? In the face of such destruction, you are actually unharmed. Li Guangyin was also extremely astonished. He stared at Su Yun, unable to regain his senses for a long time. These people were the closest to the explosion site of the magic tool, and they were protected by the war flag. The war flag was a 10th grade Imperial Qi, and with the support of Li Guangyin, a 7th-stage Spirit Emperor, with his profound strength, everyone was unharmed. However, Su Yun had suffered a surprise attack, and he definitely did not have the time to defend, but he was completely fine. Is this possible? Is this reality? Jiuli clenched his fists tightly, his gaze still unable to move away from Su Yun's body. As for the Grand Princess, Princess Bing, and Prince Consort Li, they were all dumbfounded. This person's cultivation is definitely not at the first stage of the Spirit Emperor. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have such a method. Furthermore, he definitely has the protection of a divine object. Be careful. The Grand Princess reacted and immediately shouted at the top of her lungs. Man proposes, but heaven disposes. The Crown Prince retreated. Li Guangyin took out a silver spear and stood in front of the Crown Prince and the others, staring at him vigilantly. The atmosphere of the scene immediately became tense. So you're still not willing to hand over the Dragon Abyssal Bead to me? Su Yun swept his gaze across the crowd and decided not to waste any more time. He directly pulled out his sword from the sword sheath and stared straight at the Crown Prince. In this kind of situation, if he hesitated, there would only be changes. Immediately, he raised his sword and rushed forward. The snow-white lotus star sword streaked across the void like a white bolt of lightning. So fast, Li Guangyuan was immediately shocked. At this moment, he also knew that Su Yun's strength was definitely not at the first stage of the Spirit Emperor. Whiz! The white lightning moved in a strange arc, intending to bypass Li Guangyuan and directly slash towards the Crown Prince. His methods were straightforward and ruthless, and his goal was clear. This guy looked very lazy, but when he did things, he was exceptionally decisive. Hurry up and leave. Li Guangyuan roared and shot his spear towards the lightning. However, although his cultivation was countless times stronger than Su Yun's, his speed was not Su Yun's match at all, and his spear actually missed. Jiali only felt a cold breeze on his back, and a terrifying killing intent directly stimulated every pore on his body. Crash! The golden light rose again. A war flag had appeared beside Jiao Li at some point in time. It was Li Guangyuan's Imperial Equipment war flag. The war flag released a golden light barrier, directly blocking Su Yun's incoming sword, blocking it. Jiao Li had escaped death. Although he also had the cultivation of the Spirit Emperor, at that moment, he simply could not give birth to the will to fight with Su Yun. That destructive strike just now was enough to instantly kill 10 Jiao Li, but it could not harm Su Yun at all. The difference was immediately obvious. Such a dangerous person. How could he dare to fight with his life? Imperial Equipment? Su Yun snorted, retracted his Lotus Star sword, and directly used his body to strike the Imperial Equipment. He pounced forward like an unstoppable fist, directly breaking the Imperial Equipment, and the profound chi released by the war flag disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. This scene once again shocked Li Guangyuan, a 10th-tier Imperial Equipment. It was broken so easily. Who would believe it if word of this got out? Su Yun broke through the defense and pushed his speed to the limit, instantly appearing in front of the Crown Prince. A sword that was like a cold light directly pierced into his body, and the tip of the sword pressed against his chi meridian. It was the same as when he had threatened Prince Consort Li. The tip of the sword was extremely accurate, and the strength was just right. The Crown Prince was instantly subdued. Li Guangyan, who had not even rushed over, saw this scene and instantly did not dare to act rashly. It took him a while to regain his senses. Seeing the person in front of him and the sharp sword in front of his chest, his brain found it hard to think. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, Big Brother Jiaoli." The other three immediately became anxious. "Don't act rashly," Su Yun bellowed. Everyone stood where they were, not daring to move forward. Seeing that, Su Yun's face revealed a smile. He turned his head to look at the pale-faced crown prince. Shinner extended her hand, smiled, and said, "Then can you give me the Dragon Abyss bead?" The crown prince gasped violently, but he was not in a hurry to speak, as if he was still stubbornly unwilling to obey Su Yun. "I'll give you 3 seconds to either hand over the Dragon Abyss bead, or I'll kill you and get it myself." Su Yun had already lost his patience. When the crown prince heard this, he no longer hesitated and hurriedly said, "I'll give it to you. This time, I advise you not to play any more tricks. My life is already in your hands. How would I dare to act recklessly? I just hope that you don't hurt me. You can pick up the Dragon Abyss bead," the crown prince said with a trembling voice, his hand already reaching into the space bag. Chapter 8:11. No one would have thought that the two Spirit Emperoress would be so powerless against Su Yun. A Spirit Emperor expert like the crown prince did not even have the strength to escape. Li Guangyuan stared at Su Yun with a serious face. His expression was extremely ugly. He knew that to deal with this person, he would have to use the Spirit Sage to subdue him. And with just him and the crown prince, it was impossible for him to do anything to Su Yun. Now that the crown prince's life was being held hostage by Su Yun, he had no other choice. If he did not hand over the Dragon Abyss Pearl, Su Yun would definitely kill him and snatch it away. The crown prince of a country must not be harmed. Otherwise, it would be a painful blow to this country. The crown prince clenched his teeth and could only take out the Dragon Abyss Pearl and hand it over to Su Yun. "I say, why aren't you guys willing to be more honest? Otherwise, there would be no need to be like this. However, since we have obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl, everything should be over." Su Yun's expression finally relaxed. He took the Dragon Abyss Pearl and threw it into the storage ring in his hand. Then, he grabbed the crown prince and flew into the sky. "Since you have obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl, quickly release the crown prince. Otherwise, my Han Empire will definitely not let you go." Li Guangyan, who was behind him, roared anxiously and immediately flew high into the air, chasing after him. "Since I have obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl, your Han Empire will not let me go. Why do you need to say such words?" Su Yun snorted. He ignored Li Guangyuan and directly forced the crown prince to escape. His speed was extremely fast, and he specially took out the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword. The two of them stepped on the sword, and like red lightning, they flew out of the city. However, just as Su Yun left the Ice City, he saw a huge and dense gray cloud in the distance. Waves of terrifying, profound chi blew out from the gray cloud like a gust of wind. Su Yun frowned slightly. He had clearly heard what the crown prince had said to the crowd just now, and knew that he was planning to use Su Yun as an opportunity to create an opportunity for the army of the Han Empire. If he was not wrong, the gray cloud in the distance was the army of the Han Empire. Su Yun took a deep breath. The profound strength gathered in his eyes, and his eyes shone as he looked into the distance. In an instant, the scene within the gray cloud in the distance was reflected in his eyes. The gray cloud was densely packed with soldiers dressed in gray armor. Every single one of them had the cultivation of Sky Spirit Master and was extremely terrifying. They seemed to have received the news and were rushing here at full speed. When Su Yun stared at them, they seemed to have sensed Su Yun's existence as well. The huge gray cloud immediately dispersed, forming a long skyline that connected the two sides of the sky and directly enveloped them. Su Yun's face darkened. He immediately grabbed the dragon and turned to run in the opposite direction. A group of 300 spirit cultivators flew out from the army. This group's speed was several times faster than the army, and they rushed towards Su Yun. Su Yun was still holding onto the dragon serpent, and the speed at which he was retreating was much slower than usual. The group was slowly approaching him. "If you're still holding me hostage, the army of the Han Empire will definitely surround and intercept you," There is nowhere for you to hide in the entire Jianghan realm. If I were you, I would definitely choose to release the hostage in order to stop them from chasing after me." At this time, the crown prince spoke. Hearing that, Su Yun shook his head. "Do you think I'm an idiot? If I lose you, the army of your Han Empire will probably not even chase after me, and will directly activate the profound technique to attack me. Right now, you are my shield, my protective talisman. Have you ever seen anyone throw away their protective talisman when their life is in danger?" Hearing that, Jiali did not say anything. Su Yun patted his back and shouted, "Now, let your army stop the pursuit. They don't listen to me. They only listen to Royal Father." Jiali shook his head and refused. "That's such a pity." Su Yun's face darkened. "So you're saying you're not my protective talisman? If that's the case, I can only tear apart this useless protective talisman of yours. All of you retreat. You're not allowed to chase after me." Jiali immediately shouted at the soldiers who were chasing after him. When the soldiers heard this, they all stopped in their tracks. They looked at each other in dismay, but in the end, they did not dare to chase after him. Su Yun turned his head to look, and the corner of his mouth raised into a smile. "This group of people are quite obedient to you." Jiali clenched his fists and did not say another word. Although Jiali had said that, the army did not give up and continued to follow behind. Su Yun knew that they would not give up. This was the crown prince of a country. How could they let him go? Su Yun flew out of the range of the ice city and arrived at a distant place. The army of the Han Empire behind him was already extremely far away, and he could be considered to have escaped from danger. At the moment, Jiali did not say a word, but he was constantly watching Su Yun. His expression was extremely nervous, and now that Su Yun was out of danger, he did not know what Su Yun was going to do to him. If he wanted to kill Jiali, it would not be impossible. After flying like this for a while, they remained silent. The atmosphere was a little tense, and beads of sweat appeared on Jiao Li's face. "You shouldn't be from the Jianghan realm, right?" Finally, Jiao Li could not help but speak. "I don't know how many times I've said it." Su Yun held the sword to his heart with one hand and pressed down on his shoulder with the other, urging his chi to fly quickly. "So you're saying that you're going to leave the Jianghan realm now? If I don't leave, do I have to spend the new year here? You want to kill me? It depends on your performance." As he continued to fly forward, the scenery around him also changed. The snow had stopped, and the ground was no longer that cold world of ice and snow. The stones gradually revealed themselves, and rivers appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. The temperature had also risen by quite a bit. Crash! Suddenly, a gust of water vapor blew over from the front. Su Yun's face tensed up. He immediately stopped in his tracks and looked into the distance. "What's wrong?" Jiali felt that something was wrong and asked anxiously. "Someone's coming. People." Jiali was stunned for a moment before his expression suddenly changed. From this, it could be seen that the person who came was definitely from the Jiang country, and this place was extremely close to Bingsheng. In other words, the person who came was definitely from the Jiang country's army. If it was just an ordinary spy from the Jiang country, Su Yun would definitely not be like this. Su Yun pulled the Flood Dragon serpent and rushed behind a huge ice boulder. After the two of them landed on the ice stone, he immediately released the divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe, and all the profound strength in Jiao Li's body was immediately sucked dry, and he almost fell to the ground. The two of them were enveloped by the divine power, and their auras could not leak out. Su Yun stuck his head out and looked into the distance, only to see that in the distant horizon, dozens of spirit cultivator dressed in plain yellow armor were quickly flying over. They were dressed the same, and their cultivations were also quite similar. In their hands, they held a long blade that glowed with an earthen yellow light. As they flew, they looked around as if they were investigating. The two of them looked up, not daring to make a sound. Jiali was also very obedient. After a while, these people flew away, heading straight towards Bingsheng. But Su Yun still did not go out, but stood there quietly. I'm afraid they're the scouts of the people of Jiang." Jiao Li's face darkened. He turned his head and said to Su Yun, "Quickly let me go. I want to go back and set up my defenses. War is a general's business. Didn't you say that you're a layman? Su Yin said indifferently. But the people of Bingsheng don't know that the enemy has already attacked. Don't know? Heh, are all the generals of your Han kingdom eating shit? Since he was going to fight this battle, how could he not place spies around? Don't worry. The people in Bingsheng will definitely know the enemy's movements better than you and me. Su Yin said coldly. He naturally saw that Jiao Li wanted to use this excuse to escape. However, Su Yin did not fall for it. But from the looks of it, Jiao Li did not seem to have given up on escaping. Jiao Li was unable to refute Su Yun's words and could only stare at him from the side. Whoosh! At this moment, an even more terrifying and powerful wind blew over from afar. The two of them stared blankly in that direction, only to see a thick cloud drifting over from the sky. The cloud was incredibly white, even whiter than the snow drifting down from the sky. It was moving extremely quickly, and as it neared, the cloud seemed to cover the entire sky as if it was a floating mountain. Seeing that, Su Yun and Jiao Li, who were below, felt extremely depressed. This is the army of the Jiang country. It's the army of the Jiang country. Jiao Li couldn't help but exclaim in a low voice. With such a scale, there were definitely more than 100,000 people. The sky above their heads was completely covered. It was dark, and they could not see anything. With such an astonishing aura and such a large number, it was likely that the troops prepared by the Han state would not be able to contend against them. Unless they won by surprise, the Han state would be able to launch a surprise attack on the Jiang country from the rear. However, in the current situation, it was extremely difficult. Firstly, the people of Jiang had arrived too quickly. It had already exceeded the plans of the people of Han. It was unexpected. Secondly, the people of Han did not have the time to circle around and launch a surprise attack. Now that Bingsheng was damaged, it was no longer a strong city, and a lot of the barrier protecting the city had been destroyed. However, this was not what Su Yin was thinking about. He looked at Jiao Li and said indifferently, "Now that the people of Jiang are attacking, your Han state's army no longer has the time to chase after me. I can let you go now. You can leave by yourself." With that, Su Yin turned and was about to leave. It was the safest time to leave now, because the people of Jiang had attracted the hatred of the people of Han. The people of Han had no time to care about him, so it was the most suitable time to leave. Jiao Li was stunned for a moment. He did not dare to hesitate and immediately stood up. He took out a magic treasure from his space bag and prepared to leave. Just like that, the two of them parted ways. But at this moment, an explosive shout suddenly rang out. "Who are you?" As the sound of his voice faded, several rays of light directly wrapped around him. It was a few soldiers from the Jiang country. Su Yun frowned. He did not dare stay any longer and immediately left on his sword. But at this moment, Jiao Li suddenly shouted from behind. "Taking away the Dragon Abyss Pearl doesn't mean that you can get what you want. You will still come back to find us." This was Jiao Li's voice. Su Yun suddenly turned his head and stared at Jiao Li, only to see the corner of his mouth curling up into a faint smile. Then he activated his magic treasure, and his entire body was wrapped in a circle of golden light. When the light disappeared, he had already disappeared. Su Yun's heart was filled with suspicions, but he did not think too much about it, and immediately left. Chapter 8:12. Those few soldiers of the Jiang country were just stragglers. Their cultivation was not high, and they could not stop Su Yun. The people of Jiang country's target was Bingsheng, so they naturally would not send too many people to capture Su Yun. Very quickly, Su Yun flew towards the horizon and directly rushed towards the gate that led to the ultimate martial sacred plane. Activating the Imperial Battle Robe, he dived into the bone-chilling deep pool and directly rushed towards the magical door. He was like a golden meteorite falling into the deep blue sea, dragging a long whirlwind behind him as he reached the bottom of the pool. Not long after, he arrived in front of the gate. "I never thought that everything would go so smoothly." "Very good, very good. I'll return to the mouth of the Phoenix Pond and find Master and Sage first. Let the two of them help me absorb this Dragon Abyss Pearl." Su Yun thought, and his movements also sped up. He originally thought that it would take some time to seize the Dragon Abyss bead, but he didn't expect it to be so easy. The first person he met after entering the Jianghan realm was actually the princess of the Han nation. Rumble. The door slowly opened, and light seeped out from within. Suyin took a deep breath and stepped into the door. A series of strange feelings once again floated around his body. Fortunately, it was not the first time Suyin had experienced it, so he was quite used to it. When the feeling dissipated and he opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in front of another door. In front of him was a chi cover, and outside the chi cover was the terrifying magma. He took a step forward and crashed into the magma. He activated the Imperial Battle Robe, pushing away all the magma around him, and directly rushed out of the magma. The small lava lake immediately began to churn, and lava splashed everywhere. Suyin rushed out of the lake, startling a spirit cultivator who happened to be passing by. He summoned his flying sword and charged towards the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. Suyin calculated the time. It had not even been a month since he had entered the Jianghan realm, so it was extremely likely that his master was still at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. As they approached the mouth of the Phoenix Pond, they could see many students of the Phoenix Pond Sage. They were either sitting on the mountain or standing under the trees. Some of them had their eyes closed in meditation, while others were discussing intensely. When Suyin flew over, many people raised their eyes to look, guessing who he was. However, a few students recognized that he was Suyin, the student of the Master Subhoodie, and immediately stood up and flew. "Are you senior brother Suyin? Didn't you go to the Jianghan realm? Why did you come back?" A student flew in front of Suyin and asked. Suyin recognized this person. Back then, when they went to the magma lake, this person followed beside Feng Qi and seemed to be called Hu Jing. "Senior brother Hu Jing, there's no need to be so polite. I joined the sect very late. You could just call me Suyin. There's no need to add senior brother." Suyin laughed. I wouldn't dare. Be it cultivation or knowledge, you are above me. Why can't I call you senior brother?" Hu Jing smiled. Suyin was too lazy to argue with him and directly asked, "Is the master and the sage in the valley?" "My master left the Phoenix Pond the day before yesterday and returned to the Bodhi Plain." "Have you finished your business after coming back from the Jianghan realm?" "It's about time. Since my master has returned to the Bodhi Plain, I'll go look for the sage." Suyin was slightly anxious. He immediately cupped his fists and said, "I'll take my leave first. In the future, I'll have a good discussion with senior brother Hu Jing about the study of the mind." "Haha, if that's the case, that would be great. You can go first. Farewell." With that, he rushed towards the mouth of the Phoenix Pond like a gust of wind. After entering the mouth of the Phoenix Pond, Suyun's unique qi was immediately sensed by Feng Qi before he could even reach the Wutong tree. Feng Qi walked over accompanied by a few students. "Suyin, how did you get here so quickly? Could it be that you have already obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl?" Feng Qi was naturally surprised. She had originally thought that Suyin would be gone for at least a year or so, but who would have thought that he would return in less than a month? "I got it. Things are much easier than I thought." Suyin laughed and took out the Dragon Abyss Pearl from the space bag. The moment the dazzling pearl appeared, it immediately caused the students to exclaim in surprise. Everyone's eyes were like iron blocks that were attracted by a magnet, unable to move. It was as if everyone's soul was about to be hooked away by this beautiful Dragon Abyss Pearl. Could this be the Dragon Abyss Pearl? Exclamations of surprise could be heard. Suyin nodded. "I never thought that, Suyin, you would actually have such a method to be able to obtain the Dragon Abyss Pearl in such a short period of time. The people of Jiang country tried their best to obtain this item from the people of Han country, but you actually managed to obtain it so quickly." Although she knew that the reason why the Jiang country attacked the Han nation was not entirely for the sake of the Dragon Abyss Pearl, but also to take the opportunity to annex the Han nation, but no matter what, she admired Su Yun's methods. Hearing that, Su Yun laughed bitterly and did not say anything more. The methods he used were dishonorable, and he did not dare to spread it around, so he did not pursue the matter any further. He continued to ask, "Sage, since you have already obtained the Dragon Abyss Pearl, please tell me how to absorb it." The method of absorption is not difficult, but this place is not suitable for you to absorb it. You need to find a quiet and cold place because the Dragon Abyss Pearl itself is an item from the Jianghan realm and belongs to the Yin attribute. If you were to absorb it from another realm, you might not be able to perfectly fuse it into your body. So, the Jianghan realm is actually a good place. Is that so? Then I will return to the Jianghan realm. Su Yin, wait a little longer. I will give you something else to help you absorb. At this time, the sage spoke again. What is it? Come with me. With that, the sage walked straight towards the wutong tree. When they arrived at the foot of the wutong tree, Feng Qi raised her head and looked at the densely packed branches. Her sunken old eyes seemed to be searching for something, and in the end, her gaze locked onto a tender branch. She stretched out her hand, broke the tender branch, and plucked it off. This divine wudong tree was actually planted by my master with a divine seed. It contains a powerful divine power within it, and can be called a divine tree of the present age. Master once divined for me and sealed my prophecy of fate in the tree, so I needed to wait for it to bloom. This tender branch also contains its divine power. Take it, and when you return to the Jianghan realm, use this branch to carve a formation on the ground to help you absorb it. Feng Qi said. Hearing that, Su Yin cupped his fists and said, Thank you, sage. Don't be polite. Su Yin, take out the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Su Yin nodded and took out the Dragon Abyss Pearl. The sage took the Dragon Abyss Pearl and chose a huge leaf from the wudong tree. She wanted to wrap the pearl up, but just as she was wrapping the pearl up, her eyebrows suddenly twitched and her sunken eyes stared straight at the Dragon Abyss Pearl. After a long while, Feng Qi's face was replaced by a congealed expression. Sage, what's wrong? Su Yin felt that something was amiss and immediately asked, Su Yin, when you took out the Dragon Abyss Pearl, did you forget to take something? Feng Qi asked, What did I forget? Su Yin was startled. Sage, what do you mean by that? The sage was silent for a moment, then said, What I want to say is this Dragon Abyss Pearl is not complete. It's not complete. Could it be? I want to inject the power of the wutong leaf into the Dragon Abyss Pearl as a primer so that it could be absorbed by you better. However, the power of the wudong leaf has just seeped into the Dragon Abyss Pearl, but there is no reaction at all. What does this mean? This means that the power within the Dragon Abyss Pearl has not been activated, and the power of the wutong leaf cannot be combined with it. Although I have never seen the Dragon Abyss Pearl before, I have done some research on this mystical pearl, and this kind of phenomenon should not have happened. In my opinion, this Dragon Abyss Pearl should be missing some part. Feng Qi held the Dragon Abyss Pearl and carefully examined it for a moment. Suddenly, her eyes tightened as she stared at the top of the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Su Yin was puzzled. He looked over, and at first, he did not see anything, but upon closer inspection, he noticed some clues. Right above the pearl, there was actually a hole that was dozens of times thinner than a strand of hair. It was very difficult for an ordinary person to detect it with their eyesight. Seeing that, Su Yun's face turned ugly. Suddenly, he remembered what the flood dragon had shouted at him before he left. Could it be that the king of the Han state, in order to be safe, split the Dragon Abyss Pearl and only gave me an empty shell? What other important things are there? Su Yun took a light breath, received the Dragon Abyss Pearl from Feng Qi, and said, Thank you for your help this time. I will continue to let Su Yun handle the rest of the matters. There is no time to lose. I will not stay any longer. Farewell. After he finished speaking, he flew out of the valley. Feng Qi didn't say anything and just quietly watched him leave. After passing through the gate connecting the Jianghan realm and the ultimate martial sacred plane, Su Yun once again returned to the Jianghan realm. After exiting the deep, ice-cold pond, he flew straight towards the Han nation. Su Yun did not expect the bead to actually be able to be split apart. No matter how much he thought about it, he did not expect this. If not for the fact that Feng Qi still recognized this item, Su Yun would probably still be in the dark. These guys were bullying him for not knowing Long Abyssal Pearl. Su Yun was a little angry, but after thinking about it, this was also his fault. After all, he was going to take someone else's things. How could they be willing? He flew extremely fast, stepping on the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword. He flew straight through the sky and rushed towards Bingcheng. However, just as they neared Bingcheng, they smelled a large amount of blood. Following that, many figures rushed out from the direction of Bingcheng. They flew very quickly, their auras were in a mess, and their bodies were also extremely close to Huangbo, as if they could fall from the sky at any time. Su Yun looked and realized that most of these people were rogue cultivators from Bingcheng. What was going on? However, before he could think too much, many spirit cultivators rushed out from Bingcheng. All of them were dressed in plain yellow armor, holding on to large blades. They chased after the rogue cultivators of Bingcheng, all of them brimming with killing intent. It was extremely terrifying. It was the people of Jiang. They came out from the direction of Bingcheng. Could it be that Bingcheng had fallen? Su Yun's face tensed up. After thinking for a moment, he increased his speed and rushed towards Bingcheng. Unexpectedly, his movements immediately attracted the attention of the soldiers of Jiang country. A few soldiers rushed towards him. Chapter 8:13. Seeing the few soldiers, Su Yun did not show any mercy. He immediately pulled out his sword and slashed at the nearest soldier. His movements were very simple. He slashed down from the top of his head. The edge of his sword was swift and violent. The soldier was startled for a moment. He anxiously raised his blade to block, but he did not have the time to block the snow-white Lotus Star sword. The sword tip instantly slashed from the top of his head to his crotch. His entire body was directly split into two. The seemingly thick armor on his body was like paper, as though it did not have any defensive power. When the soldiers behind him saw this, they were all stunned. To kill with a single sword strike, could that person be made of paper? They shrunk back and did not dare to approach Su Yun again. It seemed that the sword strike had already intimidated them. However, Su Yun did not plan to let these existences go and directly raised his sword to kill them. Even the Spirit Emperor could not do anything to Su Yun. How could these few Sky Spirit Master existences be Su Yun's match? In just a few breaths of time, these soldiers of the Jiang country were all killed. When the escaping rogue cultivators of Bingcheng saw that someone had stopped the soldiers for them, they were all overjoyed. Some of them immediately ran away, but a few rogue cultivators were filled with gratitude and came over to Su Yun to thank him. "Are you all from Bingcheng?" Su Yun asked. "Yes, we are all rogue cultivators who escaped from Bingcheng. If not for benefactors' help, we would have been persecuted by these soldiers of Jiang country." An old rogue cultivator with white hair and beard said gratefully. Su Yun frowned. "So you're saying Bingcheng has already fallen?" Everyone sighed. The old rogue cultivator nodded his head with a helpless expression. Originally, with the sturdiness of the Ice City and the coldness of the Han country, it was enough to hold on, and the two countries of Jianghan were located at the north and south ends of the Jianghan realm. The south was warm, the north was cold, and the north was cold, the north was cold, the north was cold, the north was cold, and the north was cold, 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 the north is 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 cold. 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 But instead, they were caught unprepared and utterly defeated. General Li Guangyuan immediately withdrew his troops and abandoned Ice City. Ice City fell just like that. It fell just like that. Su Yun was startled. Was this still a war? This was simply child's play. He didn't even have a clear understanding of the military situation, yet he directly circled around and attacked. Although Bingsheng was damaged, it did not mean that it could not be defended. Was he going to retreat just like that? How many cities did the Han state have to lose? With this bunch of good-for-nothings here, the Frigid Empire would probably lose in the future. Do you know where the Crown Prince went? Su Yun asked again. Flood Dragon? The old man was stunned for a moment before he shook his head. I don't know. I think I saw him being captured by the people of Jiang. It can't be. I think I saw General Li Guangyuan escorting the Crown Prince back to the Imperial City. I'm not sure. Everyone spoke one after another, but none of them could say the whereabouts of the dragon. Since that's the case, I won't stay any longer. You guys should leave quickly and try your best to escape to some remote places. It would be better if you could leave the Jianghan territory. Farewell. With that, Su Yun brandished his sword and stepped on it to fly. When the rogue cultivators saw this, they all hurriedly fled. Su Yun flew extremely high, directly leaping over Bingsheng. As he neared Bingsheng, he could smell a large amount of blood and the chaotic and noisy profound qi. There are all kinds of profound qi, yes. Looking down, one could see that the surroundings and the sky above Bingsheng were filled with black heads. These were the troops of the Jiang country. They were entrenched around Bingsheng and were currently encircling and annihilating the rogue cultivators in Bingsheng. The rogue cultivators who had just escaped were the few lucky ones who had managed to escape the encirclement and annihilation of the Jiang country, but the others were not so lucky. Jianghua was basically massacring the city, and the rogue cultivators in the city were all poisoned. The men died a violent death, and if the women were beautiful, they would be captured and used for dual cultivation. A large number of miserable souls circled and wailed in the air above Bingsheng, but before they could wail for long, a few officers used magic tools to store their souls. From the looks of it, they were going to use their souls to refine magic tools and pills. Su Yun's eyes were bloodshot as he clenched his fists tightly. Not to mention the ordinary mortals, even the majority of the devil cultivators in the true devil realm would not do such a thing. However, the people of Jianghan chose such an extreme method to deal with the people of Han. Although the Jiang and Han kingdoms were natural enemies, and the soldiers of the two kingdoms hated each other, hatred should have a specific target and a specific person. These lone cultivators were innocent. Their cultivation was low, and they usually spent all their energy on cultivation. Why would they interfere in the war between the two kingdoms? Hey, who are you? Just then, a loud roar came from below, and a few soldiers of the Jiang country flew over. They had obviously noticed Su Yun in the sky, and all of them raised their broadswords and surrounded him. This guy must be from Han as well. Kill him and refine his soul. All right, the few of them whispered. Humph. Su Yun did not say anything. An angry snort came out from his nose. He raised the Lotus Star sword and swept out. The sword images burst out, instantly piercing through the bodies of the soldiers. The soldiers all stiffened, and then their bodies split apart, turning into more than 10 pieces of meat, mixed with blood as they fell down from above. Fresh blood and corpses smashed onto the heads of the soldiers below. They touched the sticky thing on their heads, and when they realized that it was fresh blood, they were all startled. They raised their heads to look and immediately pointed at Su Yun and shouted. In that moment, a group of 100 Jianghua soldiers chased after Su Yun. Su Yun's heart was filled with killing intent. He did not dodge at all and directly rushed down with his sword. Like a meteor falling from the sky, he crashed into those people. Seeing that Su Yun did not avoid the war, the soldiers were shocked. As long as they were not idiots, they would choose to escape at this time. It had to be known that Spirit Cultivator was even more afraid of death than ordinary people, because the effort and hardships they had to put in to reach this point was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. They cherished their lives more than anyone else, and once they died, there would be nothing left. There is only one reason for not avoiding the battle at such a critical juncture. He was very strong. Whiz! When he got close to the soldiers, Su Yun suddenly increased his speed and disappeared. When he appeared again, he had already landed in the middle of the 100 soldiers. The divine power of the imperial battle robe was like a fishing net that had spread out, enveloping all the people around him. Their profound chi was instantly sucked dry, and like a cocoon being spun, they did not have any strength left. The soldiers raised their heads, and there was only one color in their eyes. Snow light. Puffed. A crescent sword image streaked across the sky, and then the 100 corpses fell down like beans. Good strength, good swordsmanship, good killing intent. 3 good words came out in a row. Following that, a tall and strong man appeared 100 meters in front of Su Yun in the sky. He was dressed in grayish-brown armor with a steel helmet on his head, holding an incomparably large 2-handed sword in his hand, and on the armor on his chest, there was a male tiger pattern. The moment he appeared, he gave Su Yun a tyrannical aura, which was extremely similar to the martial imperial palace's aura. 8th stage of the Spirit Emperor? He could be considered an expert. Su Yun thought to himself, "You're not from Han, right?" The man did not attack Su Yun, but said directly, "How do you know? The frigid people use the frigid aqua spirit chi, but you use the swift wind spirit chi. Furthermore, the entire frigid people know that Bingcheng has already been conquered by me, so no one from the frigid country would dare to come here. However, you are here, which is enough to prove that you are not from the frigid country." Su Yun was silent for a moment, then said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if I am from Han or not. I came here just to say one thing. You shouldn't have massacred the city. These are all people of Han. Their current cultivation might not be strong, but in the future, they will definitely become enemies of my Jiang country. Why not kill them? Furthermore, their souls are the best materials to refine mortal soul pills. When our army is fighting and we are injured, we can quickly heal our wounds and raise our spirits. It can be said to be a peerless medicine. Why don't I kill them?" The man said with a smile. His voice was very casual, as if he was talking about a very ordinary matter. From a general's point of view, what he did was absolutely correct. However, from the point of view of human nature, what he did was an extremely heinous crime. Your strength is not bad. Since you're not from Han, then join our Jiang country. I can give you a position so that you can work by my side. The man spoke again. Not interested. What is it? Are you looking down on me? Seeing that Su Yun had rejected him so straightforwardly, the man's face changed slightly, and his voice became heavy. Su Yun did not explain. He immediately turned around and planned to leave to find the crown prince. However, the general was annoyed and bellowed, "Stop him!" "Yes, sir." A large number of soldiers surrounded Su Yun, directly blocking his path of escape. Su Yun looked at the people around him and said indifferently, "If you want to stop me, I'm afraid you have to do it yourself." With that, his body exploded, carrying the Lotus Star sword. He shuttled back and forth around every soldier. The general seemed to see that in that instant, Su Yun's body had split into hundreds and thousands of clones, and almost every soldier had a figure of him. And this figure was light yet ruthless as he launched a fatal attack at the soldiers. His speed was extremely fast, and none of the soldiers could react in time. The general knew that this person's strength was not ordinary and would not be easy to deal with. However, the enmity had already been established, and he was surrounded by the soldiers of the Jiang country. How could he retreat? He immediately raised his 2-handed greatsword and rushed over. But before he could even get close to Su Yun, a blood-red sword suddenly spun quickly and flew towards him. The red sword spun violently like a red disc, making whooshing sounds in the air, shaking the void. Chapter 8:14. Seeing the flying sword, a trace of doubt surfaced in the general's heart, but his movements were not slow. He immediately raised the greatsword with both hands and swung it upwards. However, A scene that caused everyone's eyes to pop out appeared. The flying sword seemed to know the trajectory of the general's sword and forcefully dodged a few inches to the side, avoiding the great sword and flying towards the general. Dong! The sharp sword smashed into his armor. It did not pierce through his body, but it forcefully created a terrifying dent in his armor, and the huge force sent him flying. Whiz! The general's body was like a bow that had been released from the bow, falling straight down. With a boom, he crashed into the ice city wall, and the cracked city wall instantly collapsed. He was smashed into a mess. The surrounding soldiers were shocked. They all rushed forward and dug out the general from the ruins. However, the general was already enraged. He pushed away the soldiers beside him and roared, "All of you scram!" The soldiers were afraid and immediately retreated. The general grabbed the great sword in his hand and stared fiercely at the blood-red sword floating in the sky. With a low roar, he rushed forward again. Flood sword strike. With a low roar, the broad and heavy great sword shot out tens of thousands of water pillars that looked like water dragons, colliding with the blood-red sword. Dong! 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 Dong when the blood sword was hit by the water column. It let out a thunderous sound. The rapidly spinning sword was immediately bounced off. It swayed in the air twice and then fell down. Imperial sword technique? It didn't look like much. The general secretly snorted and rushed towards Su Yun, who was surrounded by the soldiers. There were many soldiers, surrounding him like dumplings. It was extremely difficult to break out of the encirclement, but Su Yun was extremely strong. A snow sword was harvesting everywhere, and the soldiers who were close to him were horrified to discover that the moment they got close to him, their profound strength had disappeared without a trace, other than relying on brute force. They could not use any other methods, and even the magic treasuress had been destroyed. On the other hand, Su Yun became more and more courageous as he fought, unstoppable. "Retreat, wait for me to kill him," the general bellowed. The heavy sword struck out, causing the air to tremble. The ferocious sound of a flood could be heard from within the sword. The sword emitted a strange light, and at a glance, it seemed as though there was a vast and boundless ocean hidden within it. The strength of this sword was as strong as the strength of the ocean. Su Yun suddenly turned around. Looking at the general who was rushing over, his left arm moved slightly, his hand quickly touching the sword sheath behind him. A red light flew out from the sword sheath, directly flying towards the general. The scarlet light was like a flaming meteor, its aura ferocious. That general had suffered a loss before, so he didn't dare to take it head-on. He moved his hand to the side, shifting the position of his sword slightly to avoid that sword. Whoosh! The scarlet sword brushed past him, the terrifying temperature almost burning his body. When his sword missed, the general felt that there was an opportunity to take advantage of. However, a violent sword hum came from behind and startled him. He turned his head to look, only to discover that the scarlet sword had directly collided with the blood-red sword. The blood-red sword was originally swaying and falling, but after being hit, it instantly started to spin at a high speed, bringing with it a dense sword chi, flying towards the general like a meat grinder. What? The general was shocked. It was as if he had been injected with energy again. The scarlet sword was wrapped in profound chi, but the blood-red sword did not have any profound chi. But looking at its aura, the blood-red sword was even more terrifying. Who the hell was this guy? What kind of methods were these? The general's mind was filled with these questions, but the current situation did not allow him to think. Although the opponent was only one person, it was extremely troublesome. The speed of the sword rotation was extremely fast. Before his sword could even get close to Su Yun, the blood-red sword had already approached. The terrifying sword chi and sword force caused all the hair on his body to stand on end. Helpless, the general could only change his attack and smash his two hands towards the blood-red sword. Dong! When the two swords collided, the blood-red sword flew out again, but the general felt his hands tremble and his arms go numb. The power of the sword was so strong that it left people speechless. However, he did not waste any more time. The moment the blood-red sword was released, He quickly chanted and activated the profound strength. The sword in his hand released a large amount of water vapor, enveloping his body. His body immediately released a large amount of light. Following that, he quickly moved towards Su Yun, the viscous water vapor directly covering Su Yun's body. When the water vapor attacked, Su Yun did not use the Imperial battle robe to block it, allowing it to cover his body. At the same time, his fingers moved anxiously, releasing the profound qi. However, when he used the profound qi, he realized that when the water vapor covered his body, the speed at which the profound qi was released would slow down by several times. Catching the flash of surprise on Su Yun's face, the general was extremely pleased with himself. Taking advantage of the fact that Su Yun had yet to react, the big sword struck out and directly slashed at his shoulder. Dong! Su Yun was forcefully smashed down from the sky by the sword and smashed onto the ground. "All right!" The surrounding soldiers shouted loudly. This sword was inspiring. However, the general did not reveal a complacent smile. The sword strike just now had indeed struck Su Yun's body, but he did not feel the sharp sword tearing through his flesh. It was more like he was blocked by something. He looked down at the direction Su Yun was falling in. It was a small, empty space outside of the ice city. When Su Yun landed, the ice on the ground was blasted apart, and a large amount of ice flowers splashed up like mist, almost covering Su Yun's body. Hundreds of soldiers raised their blades and rushed over aggressively, as if they wanted to take the opportunity to take Su Yun down. Suddenly, the general felt that something was amiss. Looking down, he saw that Su Yun had suddenly stood up, raised his arm, and started to accumulate techniques towards the sky. His body was originally covered by the great general's special frigid aqua spirit qi, so the activation of the profound qi should be extremely slow, but it was not affected at all. With a tap of his finger, the profound qi overflowed into the sky. The general did not dare hesitate and immediately took action, continuing to attack Su Yun. This enemy's methods were much stronger than he had imagined. With a low growl, his entire body surged with a tyrannical aura, and like a ferocious beast, he rushed down from the sky. However, Su Yun ignored it and continued to activate the profound energy. This thread of profound energy flew into the air and struck the Tribulation Fire Sword that had already turned pale white. The Tribulation Fire Sword immediately flew up again and fiercely struck towards the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword that was on the verge of collapse. The current Su Yun was completely using the profound qi to control the Tribulation Fire Sword, but he did not use it to control the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword. He suddenly thought, could he use the profound energy to control this sword that did not have profound qi? Could he use his qi to control the sword, and at the same time, use his strength to control the sword? It had to be known that the consumption of profound qi to use qi to control the sword was fixed, and using strength to control the sword required a continuous flow of energy. It was impossible for Su Yun to follow the sword and continuously inject energy into it, but using qi to control the sword gave it convenience. At the same time, as a sword that relied purely on strength to achieve its mobility, its movements were simpler, more violent, and at the same time, it could obtain the greatest return with the smallest effort. The Tribulation Fire Sword was controlled by Su Yun and quickly struck the body of the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword. In order to use strength to control the direction of the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword, one needed to strike both sides of the sword, causing it to spin around. At the same time, one needed to strike one point, causing the force on the entire sword to be uneven. The sword would fly with the side with the greater force, thus achieving the goal of locking onto the direction. At the same time, he quickly struck the middle region of the sword, continuously transferring power to it. In an instant, the Tribulation Fire Sword struck the immortal mystical Scarlet Blood Sword more than 700 times. The entire blood-red sword trembled to the point that it was about to shatter the void. Under Su Yun's urging, both swords shot out at the same time, straight towards him. One was enveloped by a thick, profound qi. The other was controlled by brute force. The two swords carried two completely different sword intents. The two swords descended together like meteors piercing through the sky, dragging out two long tails as they fell to the ground. "General, be careful," someone shouted at the top of his lungs. Before the general could even rush towards Su Yun, he felt a pain in his chest, and then his entire body exploded. Everyone looked over and saw that the two swords had actually pierced through his body. The chi sword smashed his protective chi into pieces. The sword instantly pierced through his armor and tore apart his body. The two swords were simply invincible, sweeping through everything in their path, instantly killing the 8th stage of the Spirit Emperor. How powerful was this power? How strange was this method? After the two swords slashed at the general, they directly flew to Su Yun's side and pierced into the ice and snow. One of them had dissipated, and the other had completely dissipated, turning into ordinary swords. This scene had long since shocked the hearts of the surrounding soldiers. How could they not know the cultivation level of their general? However, he was killed in just a few moves from his person. Looking at this person, after fighting with these soldiers for so long, there was not a single wound on his body. Was he even human? What kind of strength did this guy have? Mom, this person is not simple. Be careful. Be careful. Who the hell is he? Some of the soldiers of the Jiang country were completely scared out of their wits. With their general beheaded, their courage instantly collapsed. At this moment, they no longer dared to face Su Yun, and all of them turned and fled. There were two of them, and three of them. Many of the soldiers in Bingsheng did not know what was going on, but they saw their companions frantically running towards the direction of the Jiang country. At first, no one knew what was going on, but when the news of the general being beheaded spread, everyone's morale dropped to the lowest point, and they were also shrouded in fear. For a time, more and more soldiers of the Jiang country ran back, not daring to stay in Bingsheng any longer. The leader had been beheaded, and the group of dragons had no leader. The situation was extremely chaotic. Su Yun glanced at Bingsheng. He did not stay for long, and immediately turned and flew towards the direction of the Han Nation. He didn't have much time to waste here. Finding the dragon was the most important thing. Chapter 8:15. Su Yun could not care less about the war between the two countries, nor did he want to care. Since it was a war, there would always be deaths. He had the ability to save the lives of the people of Bingsheng, but it was impossible for him to save more innocent cities like Bingsheng that had been poisoned by war. The power of a person was just that small. He endured the biting cold wind and flew deeper into the Han Kingdom. Gradually, the sky started to snow again, and the temperature became lower and lower. This cold seemed to ignore the profound qi, ignore the magic treasure, and directly affect the skin, flesh, and marrow of a person it was impossible to guard against. Su Yun exhaled a breath of white air. His gaze swept forward. The snow mixed with the cold wind had blocked the road in front of him. Su Yun sped along the way and met many rogue cultivators that had escaped from Bingsheng, but he also saw many corpses that had died on the side of the road. After flying for half a day, he could smell the chaotic, profound qi blowing in the wind. After about 12 hours, Su Yun finally saw another city of the frigid nation. This was a city that had fallen into an ice valley. On both sides were towering ice mountains, just like mountains. Moreover, these two huge ice mountains were covered with a large number of light blue runes that were glowing with light. The runes released a large amount of spirit formation energy, enveloping the city in the ice valley. If one's cultivation was not strong enough, it would be impossible to pass through the spirit formation energy. At present, only the gate at the entrance of the valley could allow people to enter and exit. The refugees that had escaped from Bingsheng all rushed towards the gate. For a time, the gate was crowded with people, and it was extremely lively. Su Yun was not in a hurry to enter the city. Instead, he circled around the perimeter of Bingsheng and discovered that the ice mountain and valley entrance were filled with soldiers from the Han Kingdom. The entire city had been completely armed. All of you scram. All of you scram. Prince Consort Ma has given his orders. No one in Bingsheng is allowed to enter the valley. All of you hurry up and scram. or else don't blame us for being impolite." At this moment, waves of roars came from the entrance of the valley. Su Yun looked over, only to see that all the rogue cultivators that were planning to enter the valley had been chased out. A group of soldiers with long spears and long blades had chased everyone out of the city. "Why won't you let us in?" A loose cultivator from Ice City questioned loudly. Prince Consort Ma said that the fall of Bingsheng was all because of the spies. In order to prevent the spies from entering the valley, from now on, the valley will be completely sealed off. The valley is only allowed to leave, not to enter, especially the people of Bingsheng. Not a single one of you are allowed to enter. Now, you can either scram, or I'll make you scram. Make your choice, the officer said without any trace of politeness. His words infuriated many people. What spy? Aren't we all Gorians? Now that Bingsheng has been occupied by the people of Jiang, you are not letting us enter the city. Could it be that you want us to die under the swords and blades of the people of Jiang? A man took a few steps forward and stood in front of the officer, questioning loudly. But as soon as he finished speaking, the officer kicked him in the chest, sending him flying and crashing to the ground, spitting out blood. "What is it? How dare you talk to me like that?" The officer spat out a mouthful of saliva and snorted. "A bunch of lowly commoners with such low cultivation bases. It doesn't matter if you're dead or not. Prince Consort Ma said that you're not allowed to enter the city, so you're not allowed to enter. Where do you think this is? Is this a place for you to make a scene? I'll give you 10 more breaths of time to scram. Do you hear me? Scram." The officer's voice was stern and his face was ferocious. Those rogue cultivators were not strong, and it was impossible for them to be a match for the soldiers of the Han Kingdom. Hearing their words, everyone understood that their country had already abandoned them. Now that they could not enter the Valley City, it would not be long before the army of the Jiang country arrived. Other than death, there was no other way for them to go. "I never thought that we would not be killed by the people of Jiang, but instead be forced to death by our own compatriots. Hee, how laughable, how laughable." A person stood in the wind with a crazed expression. He shouted loudly and loudly, and as he spoke, he began to laugh loudly. That hoarse yet helpless laughter caused many of the Han soldiers who still had a conscience to lower their heads in shame. However, they were only soldiers, and they could not change anything. "I'll let you King laugh." The officer was furious. He raised his sword and slashed at the man who was laughing loudly. That person did not dodge. He no longer had any desire to live. He allowed the blade to cut open his chest and kill him. Fresh blood dyed the snow-white snow on the ground red. Seeing this, the rest of the people felt as if their hearts had died. "Let's go. If we leave now, there's still a chance of survival. Let's hide in the remote river plains before the people of Jiang come." A few people who still had the intention to live shouted. At this point, there was no other choice. People began to leave one after another, gradually disappearing into the wind and snow. Seeing that, Su Yun could not help but shake his head. To treat his own people like this, how could the Han Kingdom not be defeated? He took a deep breath, raised his Lotus Star sword, and rushed towards the officer. Whiz! In the blink of an eye, he landed in front of the officer. The officer was shocked, and many of the soldiers retreated, vigilantly staring at the person who had suddenly appeared. Who are you?" The officer shouted with his long blade in hand. "Let me ask you, has your crown prince returned to the imperial city?" Su Yun said directly. This was the only way to the imperial city of the Han Kingdom. If the first princess Li Guangyuan and the others were to pass by this place, the city guards would definitely know about it. "Who are you? Why do you ask?" The officer became vigilant. He glanced at Su Yun and immediately waved his hand and shouted, "I think you are a spy from the Jiang country, man. Capture him." This was really stupid. Would a spy ask you a question in such an open and above-board manner? Many of the soldiers thought the same. However, this guy was the captain, so they had no choice but to obey his orders. They all surrounded him. Su Yun swung his snow sword. A cold light rippled out, and all the long blades and spears in the hands of the soldiers were broken. The sword was so fast that no one could react. The soldiers' faces turned pale as they retreated. looking at the broken weapons in their hands. Their eyes were filled with shock. Huh? The officer was even more shocked. He anxiously retreated, but in the next second, Su Yun appeared in front of him again. Bang! The officer was punched in the abdomen, and the profound strength penetrated his body. He was in so much pain that he fell to the ground and curled up. The other soldiers did not dare to step forward. When the soldiers on the city wall saw this, they blew their horns, and a large number of soldiers rushed over. However, Su Yun was not moved at all. Holding onto the Lotus Star Sword, he placed it on the officer's neck. I'll ask you a question, and you'll answer it. If you don't say it, I'll have to change people. However, you should know what I'll do before I change people, right? Su Yun said indifferently. The officer raised his head with all his might, looking at the soldiers around him, wanting to say something but hesitating. If he said it, if word got out, the people of Han would definitely eat him, but if he didn't say it, he would definitely die. One died first, and the other died later. The officer hesitated for a moment before finally choosing the latter. I'll say it. I'll say it all. He compromised. Did the Grand Princess and the others pass by the Valley City? After passing by, they are now rushing towards the Imperial City. General Li was left behind to guard the Valley City. There are still 80,000 soldiers in the city. When did they come? 3 days ago. Where is the Crown Prince? Crown Prince Jiuli? That person was stunned for a moment, then said with a trembling voice, "The Crown Prince Jiuli has been captured by the people of Jiang." What? Su Yun was immediately shocked. The Crown Prince was captured? How could this be? If the Jiang country used the Crown Prince as a hostage, the Han country would definitely lose. In other words, the Jiang country wants to use the Crown Prince as a hostage to force you to surrender? The officer stopped talking. Su Yun's face darkened. If the Crown Prince was in the Jiang country, then it would be troublesome. The Crown Prince had another part of the Dragon Abyss bead on him. If he didn't find him, it would be impossible to make the Dragon Abyss bead complete. Crash. Just then, the gates of the valley opened, and countless armored soldiers rushed out. There were at least a few thousand of them, and they surrounded Su Yun from the sky to the ground. The auras of these armored soldiers were all very strong. They were all existences around the 10th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, and could be considered elites. How dare you? I let you escape back then, but I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me again. With a dignified voice, the soldiers split up and saw Li Guanyin, who was dressed in armor, walking over with a group of experts from the Han country following him. More than 10 experts. All of them had cultivations above the Spirit Emperor. Su Yun turned his head to look at Li Guanyin, only to see that his face was covered in scars. One of his eyes was blind, and his body was covered in scars. From the looks of it, during the battle in Bingsheng, he had also rushed to the front lines to fight bravely, and some of his injuries would not recover too quickly. Now, hand over the Dragon Abyss bead. If you hand it over to me, I can let you leave. Li Guanyin said solemnly. If I don't hand it over, you won't be able to keep me. Su Yun said indifferently. Li Guanyin, I came here this time to retrieve the other part of the Dragon Abyss bead. Your Crown Prince Jiu, she split the Dragon Abyss bead apart, and what I obtained was just an empty shell. However, I just heard from your subordinate that the Crown Prince Jiu, she has been captured by the Jiang country, and it is useless for me to look for you guys. With that, Su Yun was about to leave. Li Guanyuan's expression was abnormally ugly. His only eye was filled with anger. What do you think this place is? Do you want to come and go as you please? Stop him, Li Guanyuan shouted. He knew Su Yun's strength. Not only did he and the Crown Prince not stop him, he had even captured the Crown Prince. However, he did not believe that with so many experts here today, they would still be unable to subdue Su Yun. The news of Bingqing's defeat spread to the Imperial City on the same day, and the king immediately sent a group of experts to guard the valley. With these experts here, even if they could not capture Su Yun, it would be enough to chase him away. However, just as these people were about to make their move, an urgent shout came from afar. Report! His voice was hoarse, causing one's heart to tremble. Everyone stopped what they were doing at the same time, and looked towards the source of the voice. They saw a soldier dressed in tattered armor flying over and directly falling at the entrance of the valley. Seeing that, Li Guangyuan's face darkened. He took a few steps forward and lifted the man up. "What's going on?" he shouted at the man. The person who was on the verge of fainting tried his best to open his eyes, looked at Li Guanyin, who was in front of him, and said in a hoarse voice, "Reporting to General. Jianghua has sent a message. The Crown Prince is dead." Chapter 8:16. The Crown Prince is dead? Li Guanyin could not believe his ears. After being stunned for a moment, he grabbed onto the soldier's clothes and growled. "What did you just say? Who died?" "The Crown Prince is dead. General, the Crown Prince is dead." The soldier roared at the top of his lungs. This roar shocked all the soldiers present. Everyone stared blankly at the soldier, their faces filled with shock. The two countries were at war, and the Crown Prince of one country had died. What kind of shock was this? If word of this got out, what kind of panic would it cause? Logically speaking, if the Crown Prince was captured by the enemy, he should be treated as a hostage. However, the Jiang country had let the Crown Prince die. What was going on? What did this mean? This probably meant that the Jiang country no longer needed the Crown Prince as a hostage, right? The soldiers panicked. They looked at each other in dismay, and their eyes began to fill with confusion. The successive defeats and grievous news had completely destroyed their self-confidence. They even began to doubt whether they could defeat the Jiang country. Now that the city had been occupied, the Jiang country was like a tiger, slowly gnawing at the land of the Han country. However, the Han country did not do anything, and instead expelled the fleeing citizens of the Han country. "You must be lying to me. How could the Crown Prince die for no reason?" Li Guanyin naturally did not believe it. He pushed the soldier away and roared in a low voice. "Don't believe me. This is just a rumor. Jianghua must have deliberately asked him to spread this rumor, intending to disturb the morale of the army. General, how could this subordinate dare to do this? Everything this subordinate has said is true. The people of Jiang have already sent people to bring the Crown Prince's body back. I believe that the Crown Prince's body will be sent back soon. Drag him down and behead him. Kill him." Li Guanyin did not believe it at all. Hearing the soldier's voice, it was more like an enraged lion, suddenly roaring. A few Spirit Emperors immediately stepped forward, raised their swords, and were about to slash. But at this moment, the soldiers exhaled again. "What's that? There. General, look over there." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a group of people walking over from the snowstorm. These people were all wearing gray armor, which was especially conspicuous in the wind and snow. At a glance, there were about 30 of them, and in the middle of the group was a huge wooden coffin. They carried the coffin over quickly and stopped about 100 meters away from the group, then unloaded the coffin. "It's the people of Jiang country." A soldier roared, and the crowd immediately burst into an uproar. They immediately surrounded the 20-odd people. These people of Jiang country were naturally frightened. They hurriedly retreated and shouted, "Stop! Don't fight! We are only here to send someone off." "Give it away? Who are you giving it to? Take them down first!" The soldiers of the frigid state shouted, their faces filled with anger. Seeing that the situation was critical, the soldiers did not hesitate and immediately lifted the lid of the coffin. Clang! In an instant, everyone's attention was focused on the coffin. There was a cold corpse lying inside. It was the Crown Prince, Julie. His soul had long since dissipated, and there was a large hole in his chest. One could see his frozen internal organs, and upon closer inspection, one could see that all the blood vessels and chi meridian in his body had been shattered, as though they had suffered a violent impact from the profound strength. Li Guanyin pushed the soldiers away and rushed to the side of the coffin. When he saw the person inside, he was immediately stunned. Not only him, but the other soldiers were also stunned. When the soldiers of the Jiang country saw this, how could they not seize this opportunity? Everyone simultaneously fled in the direction of Jiang country. "Capture them!" Li Guanyin reacted and immediately roared. The experts of the Spirit Emperor immediately took action. With a flash, more than 20 soldiers of the Jiang country were captured. The soldiers of the Jiang country were obviously frightened. All of them were trembling as they looked at Li Guangyuan, who was walking over in fear. How did the crown prince die? Li Guangyuan walked over, grabbed a soldier of the Jiang country, and roared angrily. He committed suicide. Impossible. Your crown prince. Yes, he did indeed commit suicide. He was afraid that we would use him as a hostage to threaten your Han state. So he committed suicide. We were ordered by the marshal to we specially returned his corpse to you. The soldier was so scared that he stuttered as he spoke. However, the more Li Guangyuan listened, the angrier he became, the more irritable he became. Kill them all. Kill them all, he growled. At this moment, he had already lost his rationality as a general. Wait. At this moment, a low voice came out. Li Guangyuan looked towards the direction of the voice, only to see Su Yun walking over. What are you doing? What? Could it be that you still want to interfere? Li Guangyuan clenched his fists and said, when the two armies fight, don't you know the rules? They are only here to return the crown prince's corpse. Even if you kill them, it will be useless. Furthermore, there's a lot of information in their mouths. Isn't it a pity to kill them? Su Yun said indifferently. What do you want to do? Li Guangyuan said angrily. Su Yun did not care about him, and directly grabbed the soldier and asked, let me ask you, was it your marshal who dealt with your crown prince's corpse? I don't know about this, but Crown Prince Jianxi did indeed die in the marshal's barracks. He shattered all of his Qi meridian, and even his soul was destroyed. When we discovered him, he was already dead. In that case, the crown prince's things are most likely in the hands of your marshal. Su Yin rubbed his chin and started to think. The man did not say anything, but Li Guangyuan already knew what Su Yin was asking. However, he did not stop him. Instead, he sneered. Most likely, if you want to obtain the Dragon Abyss bead, I think you should go find the people of Jiang. Su Yun glanced at him, and without saying a word, he immediately turned and flew into the sky. Li Guangyuan did not stop him in the slightest, and allowed him to leave. After Su Yun left, he turned his head and said to the soldiers beside him, capture all of these Jiang people. In addition, the news of the crown prince's death is temporarily not allowed to be revealed. Wait for me to report to His Majesty before making a decision. Yes, General. Bring the crown prince's body back to the city. Li Guangyuan said in a hoarse voice. He believed that the mood of all the soldiers present would not be any more complicated or sour than his. The death of the crown prince seemed to be an indication of something. Not only did he not dare to believe it, he could not believe it either. After leaving the valley, Su Yin did not go far, but lingered at the edge of the valley. Although Su Yun did not like the dragon, his dedication was still admirable. However, how serious would the consequences of his death be? The entire Han state would definitely be shocked, and the king of the Han state would also fight to the death with the Jiang state. At that time, the Jiang Han world would truly be in chaos. After wandering around for a while, Su Yun met a few rogue cultivators from my city. After asking about the route of the Jiang country, he set off. Right now, it was better to first investigate the whereabouts of the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Before the battle began, he had to lock onto the location. Otherwise, once the battle broke out and the situation became chaotic, it would be difficult to retrieve the parts. Stepping on the flying sword, Su Yun flew towards the Jiang country. However, compared to the two countries, Su Yun clearly preferred the climate of the Jiang country. Although there were many rivers and seas here, the temperature was not as cold as the Han state. After leaping over the ice city, over several tall mountains, and walking through two vast plains, Su Yun finally arrived at the border city of the Jiang country, Yang City. The city was located in a valley, surrounded by high mountains and lofty ridges, and these mountains were all covered with enchantments and formations. The entire city was like a fortress difficult to break through. One must know that the influence of the terrain on the Spirit Cultivator War was already very small. Only the strength of the enchantment and the power of the Array Seal could determine the outcome of a siege battle. Only the vanguard troops of the Jiang country were stationed in Bingsheng, while the majority of their troops were gathered in Yang City. Before Su Yun even reached the city, he could already smell the terrifying, profound strength that was overflowing from the city. The soldiers did not train, they just sat cross-legged on the ground and meditated. From afar, one could see soldiers sitting cross-legged all over the mountains and plains, densely packed everywhere. Su Yun rummaged through the space bag and found the 1,000 transformation bone face that he had not used for a long time. He transformed into a soldier of the Jiang country, and then used the imperial battle robe to conceal his qi and change his cultivation. The soldiers standing guard only glanced at him, but did not say a word, much less stop him. Su Yun continued on his way. "Hey, which battalion are you from? Don't you know that it's time to cultivate? Hurry up and meditate for me." An officer saw Su Yun, who was walking into the city, and was immediately angered and shouted loudly, "Sir, I am here to deliver the corpse of the crown prince of the Han state. I have to go back and report to the marshal." Su Yun said. The person he had transformed into was one of the 20 soldiers of the Jiang country. Hearing that, the officer looked at Su Yun carefully and exclaimed, "Yo, so it's you, Brad. What? You're back? AI, that's not right. Didn't you have more than 20 brothers who went with you? Why are you the only one back? I'll tell you about this after I report to the marshal." Su Yun was too lazy to argue with this talkative officer. After saying that, he immediately ran into the city. However, after taking a few steps, he suddenly realized that he didn't know the way at all, so he pulled the officer back. "Damn it, what are you doing?" "Sir, I'm a little nervous. Why don't you come with me to see the marshal? Look at your dishes." "Forget it, follow me." The officer snorted and quickly walked forward. With the officer leading the way, Su Yun's journey was smooth and helpless, straight into the city. After walking for about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the two of them finally arrived at the city lord's mansion in the center of the city. As the officer approached the city lord's mansion, he immediately called out, "Military report. Urgent report. We have an urgent report to Lord Marshal." The guard at the entrance of the city lord's mansion glanced at the two of them and said indifferently, "Wait." With that, he entered the mansion. Chapter 8:17. Not long after, the guard walked out. "Go in. The marshal is waiting for you inside." The guard waved his hand. The two of them nodded and walked straight in. The officer walked in front, taking deep breaths as he tidied up his armor. His attitude was very serious. When the two of them entered the main hall, they saw the great marshal of Jiang country and a group of generals sitting in the main hall. Everyone's gazes fell on the two of them at the same time. Su Yun sized up the marshal. He was tall and sturdy, full of domineering aura. His skin was dark, his eyes were deep, and he had a feeling that he had experienced the vicissitudes of life. His aura was abnormally calm, and had already reached the point of being restrained. Compared to the general of the Jiang country he met before, he was probably at the peak of the Spirit Emperor. This subordinate greets the marshal. The officer knelt on the ground and shouted respectfully. Logically speaking, with his position, it was impossible for him to see the highest officer, but today he had borrowed Su Yun's opportunity to see him, so he had to make good use of this opportunity. Su Yun did not move. He was still standing in his original position. The marshal frowned. He stared at Su Yun and snorted, then said, "What do you guys want? Quickly report it." Hearing that, the officer hurriedly said, "Reporting to Marshal, it's like this. We were in charge of sending the corpse of the crown prince of the Han kingdom to Han state. However, the corpse has already arrived, but only this brother came back. The others, only one person came back." When the marshal heard this, he frowned. He stared at the two people below and asked, "Which one of you is in charge of transporting the corpse?" "Me." Su Yun immediately took a step forward. "What exactly happened? Where are the other brothers?" The marshal asked in a deep voice. "They were all detained by the Han people." Detained? When the marshal heard this, he flew into a rage. "The Han people sure have guts. We kindly sent their crown prince's corpse back, but not only did they not express their gratitude to us, they even detained him. How preposterous! This is simply intolerable. Marshal, we should immediately send an army to conquer the Han state, wash the valley city with blood, and rescue our people." We should take advantage of the current great victory and launch a further offensive, completely destroying their morale, ending the turmoil in the Jianghan realm, and helping our country's ruler unify the world and advance to realm master. General Liu is right. We should take advantage of our victory and pursue them. All the generals present spoke one after another, and they could be said to be extremely excited and in high spirits. All of them wished for nothing more than to immediately charge into the gorge and fight the Gorians. The marshal's temper wasn't good either. When he heard about this, he was naturally furious. He slapped the armrest and said in a deep voice, "Do the Han people still not know what's good for them? Do you really think that my people are easy to bully? Marshal, maybe we shouldn't have sent the corpse back then. They don't know that the corpse is already dead, so we can still use it as a hostage to threaten them and negotiate with them. This way, it will be more beneficial for our army to go on an expedition." A general said, "General Yao, you are wrong. You committed suicide on the way to the prison, and there are many row cultivators on both sides of the city who saw it. The spies of the Han people probably know about this as well, and it is impossible to hide it. If the Han people know that the crown prince is dead, and we refuse to admit it, they will think that we are guilty, and they will not be afraid of us. On the contrary, we will send the corpse back to intimidate them, and that will be the most beneficial to our army. General Wang is right. I didn't think it through. Sir, what should we do now?" "Sir, this general suggests that we should immediately send all 3 armies to the Valley City, take down the Valley City in one go, occupy the Han state with the momentum of a whale, capture the Imperial City, and help my majesty unify the world and become a realm master. This general also suggests that we use all 3 armies. Sir, give the order." The generals were getting more and more excited. The successive victories had caused their desire to fight to grow stronger and stronger. Everyone wanted nothing more than to rush to the bottom of the valley and fight a bloody battle with the Han people. However, the marshal was not blinded by all of this. He stared at Su Yun and said, "Let me ask you, who is the general of the Valley City?" "I don't know," Su Yun said indifferently. "I don't know. What? Don't tell me that the general guarding the city won't come out when the corpse of the dragon is sent over. Haha, I don't think they care about this crown prince at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been captured by us. The people of Han are just a bunch of cowards." Ha ha ha. The crowd burst into laughter. The marshal frowned. He stared at Su Yun again and asked, "Then, when you sent the corpse of the dragon to the valley, how were the soldiers of the valley? Aren't they shocked?" "I don't know, because it has nothing to do with me," Su Yun said again. With that said, the marshal's expression changed. He suddenly stood up, stared at Su Yun, and roared, "Who are you?" He had already sensed that something was wrong with Su Yun. This soldier did not have the slightest bit of respect towards him, nor did he have the slightest bit of fear. From the moment he entered the door until now, he had not bowed once, and his eyes were still filled with indifference. This was not the attitude that an ordinary soldier should have when facing the highest-ranking commander. In addition, his words had completely aroused the marshal's suspicion. The marshal's actions immediately caused the main hall to explode. All the generals present stood up in unison, pulled out their long swords and blades, and aimed them at Su Yun. Everyone's movements were extremely fast, and their reactions were extremely fast. A second ago, everyone was still talking and laughing, but in the next second, they had already drawn their blades. The officer who led Su Yun in had long since peed his pants. He stood up shakily and pulled out his blade to aim at Su Yun. "Who are you?" the marshal asked in a deep voice. "I'm not from Han anyway." Su Yun stared at him. "You want to kill me? If I wanted to kill you, I would have already done so." "Is that so?" The marshal glanced at Su Yun and said in a low voice, "Your cultivation does not seem to be high, but you dare to barge into my marshal's mansion by yourself. Seems like you have some backing. What are you doing here? Take something. What is it?" "The crown prince's relic." "Oh." When the marshal heard this, he immediately sneered. "I think you're here to retrieve the parts of the dragon abyss bead, right?" "That's right." Su Yun did not hide it, and said, "Seems like the parts of the dragon abyss bead are on you." "Huh. Then the other parts of the dragon abyss bead are also on you?" That's right. That's great. Great. In this way, I don't need to travel thousands of miles to the Han state. In my city, I can obtain the Dragon Abyss bead. This is truly great. The marshal snorted, then waved his hand. Take him down. But, just as he spoke, the person standing in front of him suddenly moved. He took a step forward. This step was like a trigger. All of the chi in his body erupted at this moment, and an indescribable power left his body and enveloped the surroundings. The surrounding soldiers couldn't help but let go of the weapons in their hands, and all of them fell to the ground. Clang, 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 an ear-piercing sound rang out. All of their profound chi had been sucked dry, leaving nothing behind. What's going on with you guys? The marshal frowned again and again. Master, our profound chi has been sucked dry, the general said in pain. All that's left in my body is brute force. I can't even use the profound strength. This guy, just what kind of strange profound technique did he use, unable to use the profound strength? The marshal frowned. You are from the Supreme Sect? No. If he is not from the Supreme Sect, how could he absorb the profound strength of others? This must be the limitless, profound chi. The marshal roared, but Suyin did not have the time to listen to his nonsense. This was Yang City, their headquarters. How could Suyin stay here for too long? He removed his disguise, took out the sword sheath, wiped it with his hand, and pulled out the Lotus Star sword. It only took a breath of time before he rushed forward and attacked the marshal. From taking out the sword to unleashing the sword, his speed was so fast that no one could believe it. However, the marshal was not an ordinary person. When the Lotus Star sword attacked, he immediately retreated, smashing into the wall behind him and retreating, pulling away from Suyin. Someone, there was a thief. Someone come. The marshal roared loudly, his voice spreading throughout the entire city. He knew that Suyin was not simple, so he did not fight head-on with him. Instead, he asked for help. This was his lair, so he did not need to make a move. The entire city was in an uproar, as if it had exploded. The profound chi that filled the sky was like a monstrous wave that covered the sky, covering Suyun's head, completely submerging him. He could no longer see him. The sky darkened in all directions. When they looked around, they saw an overwhelming number of people rushing towards the marshal's mansion. Experts gathered from all directions, and in an instant, the marshal's mansion was surrounded by the army of the Jiang country. What a fast speed of assembly. It had only been 10 breaths of time. Compared to the Jiang country, the difference in quality between the Han country's army and the Jiang country's army was huge, and there were also many differences between the commanders. Suyun stared at his surroundings, and then looked at the commander of the army in the distance. His expression did not change, and directly attacked the leader of the army. Kill! The marshal shouted. So the densely packed profound chi and profound technique were like raindrops as they came raining down. But Suyin did not dodge and continued to rush forward. When the profound technique smashed onto Suyun's body, it immediately disappeared without a trace. A vacuum immediately appeared around Suyun's body. The profound technique could not enter at all, and could only see chi flowers appearing around him from afar. The marshal was stunned. He actually ignored the millions of attacks and rushed forward. What cultivation level was this person at? What magic treasure? This was practically invincible. Even an army of thousands of men and horses could not stop him. When did such a person appear in the myriad heavens realm? Just as he was in a daze, Suyun had already rushed over. He did not raise his sword to slash at the marshal. Instead, he brandished his snow-white sword and shouted in a low voice, "Bind!" Chapter 8:18. Following Suyun's shout, the Lotus Star sword immediately released a snow-white light, and a snow-white fluorescent rope shot out from the sword, directly binding the marshal. The fluorescent rope was like a living creature. No matter how the marshal tried to dodge, he was unable to shake it off. Furthermore, it was extremely fast, shuttling left and right, making it extremely difficult to pinpoint its exact location. In the end, the marshal was still hit. When the marshal was tied up, Suyun immediately rushed over. "You think you can subdue me just like that?" The marshal was unconvinced. He roared in a low voice, the muscles on his arms bulged, and the true divine spirit chi enveloped his body. The fluorescent rope that was binding him was immediately stretched taut, on the verge of breaking. He actually planned to use brute force to forcefully break free. A trace of ruthlessness flashed past Su Yun's eyes. He directly extended his palm towards his neck. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had grabbed his neck. "Break for me!" The marshal roared at the top of his lungs. Then, with a struggle of his arms, the fluorescent rope immediately broke. The marshal's cultivation was extremely strong. Su Yun was currently at the first stage of the Spirit Emperor. It was not considered high. Although the profound strength was deep, the will was not strong enough and was unable to bind the marshal for a long period of time. However, his goal was not to use the rope to subdue the opponent. The most important thing was still the Imperial battle robe. Crash! The hand that was grabbing onto the marshal's neck was immediately wrapped in divine power. This divine power was like a mist that spread out, completely enveloping his body. In the time it took for a breath, the profound strength in the marshal's body was completely sucked out, and all of it was replenished into Su Yun's body. The energy that Su Yun had previously consumed was once again replenished, and he once again recovered his abundant energy. Seeing that the marshal had been subdued, all the people of the Jiang country were shocked. Who didn't know the marshal's cultivation level? However, everyone retreat. Su Yun bellowed. Retreat. A general roared with a flushed face. All the soldiers of Jiang country in all directions were like the receding tide, slowly retreating towards the periphery. Everyone's eyes were focused on Su Yun. All of them had nervous and serious expressions, and their breathing became heavy at this moment. No one dared to act recklessly, and they did not even dare to make a single sound, because at this moment, Su Yun had already placed the snow-white sword on the marshal's neck. Other than the strength of the body and the defense of the armor, the marshal who had lost his profound chi was unable to resist Su Yun's treasured sword. As long as he moved, he would definitely be beheaded. Don't act recklessly. Otherwise, you'll definitely not be able to leave the city, the marshal said in a low voice, but his body no longer dared to move, and his bulging muscles slowly disappeared. Naturally, I won't act recklessly, but at the same time, I hope that you won't act recklessly as well. Otherwise, let alone Yang City, I'm afraid you won't even be able to walk out of the marshal's mansion. Do you believe me? Su Yun whispered into his ear. Her soft voice was like a cold blade, making those who heard it tremble with fear. The marshal knew that this fellow was no saint. He frowned, but his face showed no fear as he asked, "What exactly do you want to do? Don't you know? The Crown Prince's relic, a part of the Dragon Abyss Pearl." Su Yun said indifferently. The parts of the Dragon Abyssal Bead were related to his life and death. No matter what, he had to at least obtain the Dragon Abyssal Bead first. The Crown Prince's relic is still in the Marshal's mansion, but the parts of the Dragon Abyssal Bead, I won't hand it over so easily. If you let me go, maybe I can consider giving it to you. I might have to kill you. Su Yun did not reveal any anger. He only pressed the Lotus Star sword in his hand towards the Marshal's neck. The glowing sword edge cut open a bit of his flesh. Fresh blood flowed out, dyeing the pure, white Lotus Star sword red. Thief! Don't you dare hurt the Marshal. The soldiers of the Four Rivers country immediately panicked and shouted in anger. All of you step back. Su Yun bellowed. He tightened his grip on the weapon in his hand, and the sword tip went in a little more. Everyone was intimidated and no longer dared to move forward. Looking at this guy's posture, he was probably really going to kill the Marshal. Su Yun swept his gaze across everyone, then said to the Marshal in front of him, "I will only give you 10 breaths of time. Either you hand over the parts of the Dragon Abyssal Bead to me, or I will take away your soul." Hee. Then I will also give you 10 breaths of time. How about it? Instead of getting angry, the Marshal laughed. Perhaps you still don't know where you are right now. This is Yang City, my base camp. It's fine if you kidnap me here, but if I'm still here, you can still rely on me to escape the city. But if you kill me, I can guarantee that you won't be able to leave the city alive. The soldiers in my city are enough to tear you apart 10,000 times. So, kid, if you let me go now and surrender to me, I can guarantee that I won't kill you, and I won't pursue this matter either. What do you think? Isn't this coercion of yours too funny? Su Yun laughed coldly. If this Yang city is really that powerful, then how did you end up in my hands? That's because the experts from before didn't arrive. I caught you off guard. I don't want to waste my breath with you anymore. I don't know if you're stalling for time or not, but I can tell you one thing. If you continue like this, you won't have much time left. Now, there's still 5 breaths of time left. Kid, I don't understand why magic treasures are more important than life. There are countless magic treasures in this world, and they are inexhaustible. Why do you have to take such a risk for a single part? Is it worth it? For more breaths, Su Yun continued to speak mercilessly. You really dare to kill me? 3 breaths. Good. At most, I'll just die together with you. 2 breaths. His voice did not carry any emotion. It was as cold as the ice of the abyss, and there was not the slightest bit of hesitation. You. 1 breath. His voice was already extremely cold. Enough. I'll give you the parts. Right at this moment, the marshal finally couldn't take it anymore and yelled out loud. Su Yun raised his eyebrows and stared at him. The marshal's calm face suddenly turned solemn. He looked around and shouted, Everyone, retreat from the marshal's residence. Leave the marshal's mansion. Faster. It's better to leave the city. Then withdraw from the city. Shouts could be heard. The surrounding soldiers looked at each other in dismay, but no one dared to disobey the marshal's orders. They could only lower their heads and nod before leaving. The soldiers of the Jiang country left one after another, leaving not a single soldier in the city, leaving only Su Yun and the marshal. Now it's time for you to take me to find the parts of the Dragon Abyss bead, Su Yun said indifferently. I hid the parts deep within the marshal's mansion. It will take some time to open them. The marshal took a deep breath and said, If you can't take it out in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, I can only kill you. Since you're being held hostage by me, I believe that the experts of the Jiang country are already rushing over here. In order to avoid any changes, you only have the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. An incense stick of time? Impossible. That was impossible. There are more than 700 mechanisms in total. Even if we open them now, it will take at least 2 hours. The marshal exclaimed, I will only give you the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. I know you'll have a way. If you can't do it, I don't need to keep you. Su Yun grabbed the marshal and flew into the marshal's mansion. Without giving him any chance, he threw him onto the ground. The profound chi in the marshal's body was completely sucked dry by Su Yun. In front of Su Yun, who was currently filled with profound strength, he had no chance of escaping. Hearing Su Yun's words, the marshal's face turned ugly. However, the situation was pressing on him, and he had no other choice. He led Su Yun toward the house where he lived and cultivated. His bedroom was not far from the main hall. The two of them were extremely fast, and in less than 10 breaths of time, they arrived at the bedroom. The marshal stood outside the room with his eyes closed. He muttered something, then walked to a big tree beside the room and pressed his hand on the tree trunk. In an instant, the dense tree's leaves all released a strong and blazing light. Every leaf released a strong halo of light, and when the halo of light dissipated, dark yellow runes appeared on the leaves. The runes were like tiger heads and were filled with energy. After they flickered for 4 breaths of time, the room in front of them suddenly shrunk with a bang, turning into a palm-sized miniature house that floated in the air. Underneath the house, there was actually a transmission array with a lustrous golden light, and a strong spatial aura floated above the array. Follow me, the marshal said. You don't have much time left. Su Yun said indifferently and walked over. The two of them stood on the transmission array. Whiz! With a flash of light, Su Yun felt his vision go black, and when he reappeared, he was already in a stone room. You sure have guts. Aren't you afraid that I'll lure you into a trap? The marshal snorted and laughed. If you want to use your life as a joke, I can accompany you. Good kid, you really have guts. The marshal didn't waste any time and directly walked toward the end of the stone room. At the end of the stone room was a glazed jade table. On the table was a small black box. The box was inlaid with colorful gems, and from the looks of it, it was the box that contained the parts of the dragon abyss bead. The marshal took a few steps and stopped. A large, transparent net had appeared in front of him. Barrier. The marshal stretched out his hand and quickly pressed down on the big net a few times, causing it to immediately shatter. He continued to take a few steps forward, and another big net appeared. Just like before, the big net shattered. As a result, this distance that seemed to be less than 1,000 meters was extremely difficult to walk. The marshal took a few steps before stopping. Suyin held onto his sword and watched from behind. After a moment, he walked over. "Get out of the way," he said. The marshal turned his head and asked, "What are you going to do?" Suyin shook his head. "This is too slow. It's impossible to reach the end within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. So, you have to give me at least 2 hours to open these enchantments. It's impossible for an incense stick to burn." The marshal immediately said, "That's for you. For me, it might not take 2 hours." Suyin stared at the box, took a deep breath, and directly rushed over. Clang, 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 clang. Those enchantments were like glass. They were all shattered by Suyin. The marshal was stunned. Chapter 819. These enchantments that had been meticulously set up by the marshal were as weak as thin paper at this moment. Suyin touched them and would break. The marshal opened his eyes wide, unable to believe what he was seeing. In just a blink of an eye, Suyin had already arrived in front of the glazed jade table. He ignored the marshal behind him and directly picked up the box and immediately opened it. Bada! The lid was lifted. However, but it was empty inside. "Not good, I've been tricked." He frowned and suddenly turned his head. However, what greeted him was bursts of laughter. "Ha ha ha ha. No matter how much you calculated, you didn't expect this marshal to have such a move, right? The real Dragon Abyss bead parts have always been on my body. This is just an empty shell." "Ha ha ha." The marshal laughed out loud. "Oh, is that so? Since that's the case, you can't blame me." Suyin secretly snorted and rushed forward with the Lotus Star Sword. "Hee, I want to see what you can do." It was unknown what switch the marshal had activated, but in an instant, over 100 astonishing defensive enchantments appeared in front of Suyin. But Suyin did not even look at it, nor did he stop in his tracks. He swept through everything in his way and rushed straight towards the marshal. The enchantment was still like a piece of paper and was completely shattered by him. Whether it was the ice attribute enchantment or the thorns attribute enchantment, they were all the same, unable to create any effect on him. Seeing this, the marshal's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that no enchantment could stop this guy? Just how strong was he? The marshal retreated a few steps. He had thought that he could restrain Suyin, but he didn't expect that it would be of no use at all. Suyin stepped forward, raised his sword, and slashed. A cold light flashed, and the terrifying sword chi directly spread out. Puffed. The marshal was unable to defend in time, and his head was directly cut off by the Lotus Star Sword, causing blood to gush out. "I hate people lying to me the most," Suyin said, although he had deceived countless people in his life. The marshal's head fell to the ground, and blood splattered into the sky, dyeing the roof of the stone room red. The marshal's soul leaked out, but Suyin did not care about it. Instead, he squatted down and went to retrieve his space bag. Since the marshal dared to treat Suyin like this, he must have something to rely on. He had lost all of his profound chi, so it was impossible for him to block Suyin with just the enchantment in the stone room. But since he had done so, there was only one possibility. The experts of the Jiang country had arrived. However, just as Suyun's hand touched the martial space bag, a strong light suddenly broke through from the top of the stone room and directly struck the marshal's dead body. The terrifying, destructive aura almost instantly flooded the entire stone room. Suyin immediately retracted his hand and dodged the light. When the light disappeared, the marshal's corpse was nowhere to be seen, as if it had turned into a bubble. However, his armor and space bag were still there. This destructive power. The person who came was at least a 7th stage spirit emperor existence. He raised his head and looked at the sky above the stone room, only to see that the roof of the stone room had been blasted open and more than a dozen people dressed in different clothes appeared in the sky outside. There were men and women, old and young. All of them had dense auras. None of them had a cultivation lower than the 5th stage of the Spirit Emperor. One of them, a skinny man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks, raised his hand, and when he pulled it back, he was holding an interspatial bag. It was the Marshal's dimensional bag. The Marshal is famous for his entire life. He is a good material for war, but his cultivation is not that good. It is very difficult to deal with a spirit cultivator alone. This is his flaw. A hoarse voice came from his side. Suyin looked towards the direction of the voice and saw a blue-robed old man holding a bottle, swaying it towards the control room. The Marshal's overflowing 3 souls and 7 spirits were all sucked into the bottle. When you revive, you can talk about him. No matter what, you are still the master of the king. If he acts recklessly like this, it will be very easy for him to harm the country. A woman with heavy makeup but no good looks said with a smile, "Say, I don't dare to say that he is the Marshal, the superior of countless experts in the Jiang country. I don't want to cause any trouble." "Oh, so what? We came a step too late. Didn't we still end up like this?" Everyone spoke one after another. They were talking happily, but they completely ignored Su Yun, who was below them. Su Yun frowned, his face filled with fighting spirit. However, the other party did not put him in their eyes at all and continued to talk. Only a few people's gazes were still on Su Yun. Since the Marshal's body has been destroyed, we must revive him as soon as possible. Now that the war with the Han state has begun, the army of the Jiang country cannot be without a leader. Everyone should quickly return to the royal city. Other than that, what should we do with this person? A one-eyed brawny man stared at Su Yun and said in a deep voice, "Let's take him down first. Killing the Marshal of my Jiang country is a death sentence. Destroy his body and take his soul back to report." The old man who had collected the Marshal's soul said. As the sound of his voice faded, a person immediately rushed out from the crowd. It was the skinny man who had taken away the Marshal's space bag. He stared at Su Yun, his eyes shining, and shouted excitedly, "Treasure! That sword must be a treasure. Such a treasure, it should be handed over to me." With that, he extended his hand, and his skinny and withered hand actually turned into 5 sharp blades, piercing towards Su Yun. His movements were extremely ruthless. However, Su Yun did not move at all, his eyes staring at the person who was rushing over. Contempt. Ignore. This was the impression that this group of people gave Su Yun after arriving here. Are they strong? Su Yun did not know, but they completely did not put him, the person who had just killed their Marshal, in their eyes. Because of this, Su Yun was unhappy in his heart. The sharp claws attacked. The pointy-mouthed monkey man's eyes lit up, and the smile on his face became even wider. The sharp blade was already less than an inch away from Su Yun, but Su Yun still did not move and continued to quietly stand at his original position. Seeing that, the dozen or so Spirit Emperors outside all frowned. No defense? Was he too confident in himself and looked down on his opponent, or was this guy too weak to defend in time? No one knew. However, to be able to kill the Marshal and infiltrate the military base of the Jiang country, how could such a person be a weak person? Clang! A dull sound rang out. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at Su Yun. The 5 sharp claws that the skinny man had formed were completely broken, and the broken parts were still on Su Yun's chest. On the other hand, Su Yun's entire body was not injured at all, and he was still standing at his original position, coldly staring at the person in front of him. How is this possible? A few of them cried out in alarm. Those people who did not care about Su Yun immediately looked over, and when they saw the scene, they were all dumbstruck. This guy was called Monkey Thief. His cultivation was not ordinary, and he was most proficient in the flying dragon cloud searching hand. He was able to retrieve items from 1,000 miles away, but even so, he was still at the 7th stage of the Spirit Emperor, but when he attacked Su Yun, he could not even break through his defense. Monkey Thief opened his eyes wide and looked at Su Yun in shock. This was the killing move that he was most confident in. It could even easily break through the defense of an 8th-stage Spirit Emperor, but against Su Yun, it had no effect at all. Could it be that this guy had the strength of an 8th-stage spirit emperor or above? Crash! Just then, Su Yun's body released a circle of divine power. Like a crocodile with its mouth wide open, it surrounded the person in front of him. Monkey Thief did not even have the time to retreat and was sucked dry of his profound chi. All of it was replenished into Su Yun's body. He lost his strength and almost fell to the ground. This is bad. The old man who had been collecting the marshal's soul sensed that something was wrong. With an anxious roar, he rushed forward. Su Yun waved his sword a few times. The sword images could not be seen. He could only feel waves of sword intent shuttling through Monkey Thief's body. Monkey Thief instantly froze on the spot, motionless. Dead. No one could feel the slightest bit of chi from Monkey Thief's body, and they immediately understood. Monkey Thief was dead. In just a few breaths of time, he had killed a 7th-stage Spirit Emperor existence. Even a 10th-stage Spirit Emperor would find it difficult to do so. Only a Spirit Saint would have such a method. At this moment, everyone understood that they were gravely mistaken. This guy was not as simple as they had imagined. A ray of light attacked again, directly striking towards Su Yun's head. Su Yun took half a step back. The light devoured Monkey Thief's body, and his body followed in the footsteps of the marshal, turning into bubbles and dissipating, leaving behind only his clothes and the space bag. Su Yun was not in a hurry to snatch the space bag. His eyes swept across the Spirit Emperor existences that were rushing over, his eyes gradually turning red. Today, I won't take this bag. I just want to see how you will take it away from me and send it back to your king's city, he said coldly as he wiped his hand towards the sword sheath and threw out a blood-red sword. It was the immortal, mystical, scarlet blood sword. The sharp sword flew out and danced chaotically in the air. The sword images were like blood-red pythons that surrounded everyone. The cold and bloodthirsty sword intent caused everyone's hair to stand on end. Everyone activated their defensive treasures to defend against the sword intent. But in the next second, a rumbling sound suddenly resounded through the ruined stone room. Looking up, everyone was terrified, but they saw a torrent of swords suddenly erupting from behind Su Yun. Countless sharp swords flew out. The dense and cold sword intent filled the entire place. Although the place was small, they appeared to be orderly. They directly condensed together, transforming into a steel dragon that rushed outwards. The dozen or so Spirit Emperor were forced out of the stone room and floated in the air. Su Yun took a step forward and jumped out. Looking at the dozen or so experts of the Jiang country in the sky, his entire body was overflowing with fighting intent. So he's an expert in the way of the sword. The woman with heavy makeup from before gradually retracted her smile as she stared at Su Yun and said, "To control so many flying swords and such a sword intent, this is not an ordinary imperial sword technique. Everyone, it seems like we have met a capable person today. It seems like the Grand Marshal can't be blamed for this. Let's work together and subdue this person. Don't let it be too arrogant, or else he will look down on us, the people of Jiang." Cheers erupted. Everyone started to join hands. But Su Yun did not give them the chance and immediately launched an attack, using his power to suppress them. Thousands of flying swords danced in the air. He then took out the Tribulation Fire Sword, took out the 100 subordinate swords, and placed them in a row in front of him, using the Lotus Star Sword to quickly attack. The Lotus Star Sword buzzed, striking the subordinate swords. It released a thunderous sound, and a large amount of sword intent spread out in all directions like ripples. The experts were puzzled, but they would not give Su Yun too much time. The 8 experts split into 2 rows and attacked from both sides. His aura was extremely ferocious. Su Yun continued to attack the 100 subordinate swords. His movements were so fast that not even his afterimages could be seen. The sword intent became more and more intense, and the sword hums became more and more terrifying, resounding throughout the entire sky. Everyone's hearts trembled, but at this stage, if they did not kill Su Yun, how could they give up? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.